Fierce Lord. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151 True and False Boss. Zhao Yi led the patrol team, and the platoon leader immediately dispatched men back to Jiazhan to report to Xiao Cheng that other territories had sent people to establish diplomatic relations. Zhao Yi received the report from his men, and briefly pondered it. If the opposing territory could send a 5-man archer cavalry squad, there must be more than one such squad, at least from a Viscount territory, coming from the north, so it shouldn't be far away. On the map of Rhoda province, given directly by the merchant when he purchased intelligence, Zhao Yi's attention shifted to Kyoto territory. Judging from the name and the appearance of the 5-man cavalry squad, this Kyoto was likely a player territory from Chen Kingdom. It didn't seem like a territory affiliated with an official power, but rather a private player territory or the territory of another small power within Chen Kingdom. In that case, there was no need to worry about Kyoto territory for the time being. No matter how powerful it was, it wouldn't be as strong as his own territory. If a weaker player territory had encountered Kyoto territory, the Lord would probably have been nervous. Zhao Yi's strength gave him enough confidence to pay little attention to player territories outside of official state power, or even to official power in small and medium-sized countries. If it were a territory under the official control of a major power like Eli and Loss, Zhao Yi would have to take it seriously. However powerful his own territory was, it wasn't strong enough to compete with the official powers. For now, he'd avoid it if he could. If he couldn't, he'd take direct action. Player factions were scattered across the origin continent, and gathering sufficient strength would require significant investment, putting him at a disadvantage in the competition. Zhao Yi's response to the territory patrols reflected a decision he had made earlier. As a solo player possessing the strongest player territory, other players offered little help, and he didn't want to be exposed to the outside world. He didn't even want to interact with the natives, and the same was true for the Blue Star players, preferring to develop independently. Zhao Yi's territory had no need for diplomacy, trade, or alliances. He lacked advancement stones, and so did the other player lords, making trade meaningless. The captain of Xiao Da's cavalry squad described Zhao Yi's territory as being very closed, which was a correct assessment. While he might not take it seriously, he was concerned about the possibility of further incidents, so he dispatched more patrols to the north of Jiazhan, including 2 teams of 4 air cavalry. In contrast to Zhao Yi's disregard for Xiao Da's territory, Xiao Da, upon receiving reports from his subordinates, immediately took Zhao Yi's territory seriously. This was because Zhao Yi was a Viscount territory, though its rank was currently uncertain. With a cavalry patrol of over 30 people, Zhao Yi didn't seem like a third-class Viscount territory. It could be a second-class Viscount or even a first-class Viscount. His territory had only recently been promoted to first-class Viscount territory, yet there was a player territory nearby that was potentially equally powerful. Based on the information brought back by the cavalry squad, Xiao Da could only make a few guesses, speculating that Zhao Yi might also be a player from Chen country, and that the residents of Zhao Yi's territory might be primarily indigenous. Even with a powerful neighbor, even if fellow Chen country player, Xiao Da was deeply concerned. Nowadays, many individual player lords on the forum are no longer constrained by their nationality on Blue Star. They have no qualms about targeting their own kind for the sake of their own game world interests. For longevity, youth, and health, nothing to be ashamed of. As time passed, more and more players began to cast aside their constraints and freely pursue their own desires within the game world. Therefore, Xiao Da became deeply concerned about this powerful neighbor, and a plan gradually formed in his mind. The most important point was to first assess the strength of the other territory. If it was strong, he could either cling to it or flee. If it was weak, he could annex it. If it was of similar strength, he could establish diplomatic relations and engage in trade, or he could go his own way. Having made his decision, Xiao Da immediately took action, preparing to dispatch a team of second-level assassins to investigate Zhao Yi's territory. To prevent the Zhao Yi territory from discovering their sent assassins, the assassins were required to carry invisibility scrolls. If their assassins were discovered, the 2 territories would clash, potentially even erupting into war. A war would result in casualties, though a small number would be fine. However, a large number would make it impossible to resist the nightly undead hordes. His territory was still developing, and Cao Da aspired to quickly upgrade it to a third-class earldom. He did not want to engage in war with other players' territories and undermine his own strength. The assassination team couldn't be dispatched immediately. They had to wait until late afternoon to conduct reconnaissance on this neighboring territory under cover of darkness. Surely this neighbor wouldn't also be sending out patrols to patrol their territory at night? At night, Cao Da's assassin team infiltrated the Jiazhan area of Zhao Yi's territory, bypassing several first and zero-rank assassins from the Jiazhan garrison and successfully reaching the outskirts of Jiazhan. After observing the fierce battle between Jiazhan and the invading undead, the assassination team quietly departed. Their return hadn't alerted a single soul. Late at night, the assassination team finally returned to Cao Da's Lord City and reported their findings to the Lord. The target town is only a third-class town based on its size. There are few houses within the territory, mostly tents. The population is over 3,000, with over 300 professionals. No otherworldly heroes have been sighted. Roads are being built, suggesting the establishment of a satellite village. Third-class town? A third-class viscountship, Cao Da muttered. It was only a third-class viscountship, and it didn't look like it was going to be promoted to a second-class viscountship anytime soon. Cao Da had no doubt that Zhao Yiling was already a third-class earldom. This was beyond Cao Da's imagination. There were only a little over 100 third-class earldoms in the entire Origin continent. The chances of another third-class earldom appearing near his territory were incredibly small. Even if a player territory of comparable strength appeared, the likelihood was extremely low. It seems I was wrong. This is a third-class viscount territory, with only a cavalry patrol of over 30 people. I really scared myself, intimidated by a player territory far inferior to mine. Cao Da breathed a sigh of relief, yet also felt a tinge of resentment towards Zhao Yiling. His territory was so weak, yet his tone was so harsh, unwilling to establish diplomatic ties or communicate. He refused to play games with a powerful leader like me. If the territory ever collapses, don't ask for help. Having ascertained Zhao Yiling's strength, Cao Da temporarily stopped sending troops to the weak and reclusive Zhao Yiling. However, his regard for him remained unchanged. Zhao Yiling clearly met Cao Da's requirements and was a candidate for annexation. Zhao Yi, already sound asleep, was unaware that a weak player lord was eyeing his territory. Cao Da should be thankful that he sent assassins to scout Jiazhan. If he had sent a second-level assassin to scout Zhaocheng, with a number of second-level assassins in Zhaocheng and over 20 third-level professionals, he would have been discovered before he even approached Zhaocheng, and he wouldn't have been able to escape. Right now, Zhao Yi territory and Cao Da territory have only a few minor contacts. When Zhao Yi's territory is promoted in the future, the two territories will inevitably border each other. I wonder what choice Cao Da will make then. For this type of novel where everyone travels through time, regardless of whether they can return to reality, official forces will inevitably appear. It's unavoidable. Only when only a few people travel through time will the players completely disperse. Chapter 152, Gun Shoots Like a Dragon. The brief encounter with Cao Daling had no impact on Zhao Yi territory. Zhao Yi territory was now focused on its advancement to second-class earldom. On the 39th day after the Blue Star players arrived on the Origin continent, villages A1, B1, and C1 were completed in Zhao Yi territory, bringing the total number of villages within the territory to 12. On the same day, the demiplane also constructed its fifth town, built almost directly adjacent to the special gate, providing immediate access upon exiting. While this fifth town typically has a small population, its construction was intended to prepare for its advancement to second-class earldom. According to the plan, on the day of the advancement, some non-professionals in Zhaocheng would relocate to this town, while all professionals in the demiplane would return to Zhaocheng. Zhaocheng's population would then be reduced to just over 30,000. Through the strategic use of the demiplane, the number of undead attacking Zhaocheng was effectively reduced, and the overall strength of the undead army was consequently reduced. By the 40th day, towns A, B, and C had all been promoted to second-class towns, and new villages were under construction. If Cao Da sent troops to investigate Jiazhan again, they would be shocked by its conditions. With so many tents and so few houses, it was obvious that Jiazhan had only recently been promoted to a third-class viscountship, its foundation barely solidified. To have been promoted to a second-class viscountship so quickly was sheer astonishment. Cao Da might suspect that this player territory had joined forces with a certain faction, garnering strong support and rapidly growing. He would be extremely wary of such a neighbor. The demiplane, the 3 towns, and the newly established villages all required population, causing Zhao Yi's territory to rapidly increase in population. To meet this demand, he recruited a large number of Tier 0 professionals daily. This influx of Tier 0 professionals didn't diminish Zhao Cheng's strength. Instead, the proportion of Tier 0 professionals in the city's garrison decreased, while the proportion of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 professionals increased. On the morning of the 41st day, Zhao Yi's luck struck. He opened a crystal treasure chest and found a 2-star, talent-equipped, Tier 2 Lancer recruitment scroll. After recruiting this Tier 2 Lancer, he noticed something unique about him. Zhao Yi checked the stats of the 2nd-tier Lancer, Braden, and nearly exclaimed in surprise. Name, Braden. Gender, male. Age, 34. Occupation, level 20 Lancer. Talent, Lancer 2-star leadership 4-star. Skills, lance like a dragon, leading the army. Loyalty, 80. Braden's Lancer talent is only 2 stars, but he possesses a whopping 4-star leadership talent. Currently, in Zhao Yi's territory, only Elliot and Lori possess 3-star leadership talents. When fully developed, they can command an army of up to 10,000 men, with their legion skills covering the entire number of soldiers under their command. A 4-star leadership talent allows them to command an army of up to 100,000. On the Origin continent, those with a 4-star leadership talent are already rare, and those with at least a 3-star combat class talent are even rarer. Someone like Braden, with a 4-star leadership talent and a 2-star combat class Lancer talent, is equally rare. There are even those with sporadic combat talent but 5-star leadership talent. Most of these individuals are mediocre, but Braden, with his 2-star Lancer talent, is relatively good. Furthermore, Braden possesses 2 legion skills. The primary lance like a dragon increases Lancer damage by 10%, and he also possesses the lead the way skill Zhao Yi once encountered. In a native city, Braden, with his ordinary background, would be able to command a 1,000-man army, which would be considered a lot. Now that he's in his territory, Zhao Yi will fully train Braden. Not counting the professionals recruited today, the territory's total military strength has already exceeded 8,000, and it will only take 2 or 3 days to reach 10,000. Once the territory is promoted to second-class earldom, the daily increase in population and professionals will be even greater. It's unclear when Elliot and Lowry will be unable to command the growing territory's troops. The territory desperately needs talents with 3, 4, or even 5-star leadership talents. Regardless of how poor their combat talent is, Zhao Yi will find a way to train them. If his talent is too poor, he has talent stones. If he hits a leveling bottleneck, he has advancement stones. If necessary, Zhao Yi can arrange for soldiers to level up during battle. From now on, Zhao Yi will not sell talent stones from treasure chests unless the territory urgently needs magic crystals. After Zhao Yi assigned Lowry to lead a unit, he once again had a new staff officer, and everyone could see that Braden had a bright future. Braden was deeply moved by the Lord's attention, and his loyalty increased by 5 points. Perhaps because he had previously killed a 4th-level lich, the undead hordes that attacked him at night these days haven't seen a single 4th-level undead. Only once did a 3rd-level lich appear, and right at the outbreak of battle, it attempted to flee, only to be killed by Melissa's dragon breath. The rules of the game have always existed, but the intelligent undead are not rigid in their approach and exploit them to their full potential. They usually only send out cannon fodder troops, then accumulate elite troops, patiently waiting for an opportunity. Zhao Yi could predict that on the day of his promotion to second-class earldom, there would likely be a 4th-tier lich personally commanding the troops, and there would likely be more than one 4th-tier undead. The promotion battle was difficult, and Zhao Yi didn't want to incur significant damage to his territory just to advance to second-class earldom. He continued to accumulate strength, and with each passing day, Zhao Cheng's strength grew a little. By the 43rd day, villages A, B, and C were completed, bringing the total number of villages in the territory to 18. Zhao Yi could obtain 18 bronze treasure chests daily, but as time went on, he grew weary of opening them. He planned to obtain more, opening 10 in a row. That day, Zhao Yi, after conferring with CC Elliot and others, decided to suspend the upgrades of Towns A, B, and C. The growing populations of these three towns necessitated additional garrisons and the addition of second-tier professionals. Zhaochang itself needed second-tier professionals, too. Recruiting a company of these professionals required 4.32 million points, and it would take 3 days to recruit a full company. With insufficient points available, upgrades to 3 affiliated towns have been suspended. The daily gold chests now contain 2 gold cards, which is more than adequate. Affiliated villages that don't require as many points can continue to be built. As time passes, the topic of second-class earldom in the forums grows increasingly popular. Zhao Yi consistently holds the top spot on the territory combat power ranking, and with each passing day, the gap between him and second-place Cheng Jinling widens. More and more people are pinning their hopes on Zhao Yi to be the first to be promoted to second-class earldom. Having learned from their experience with third-class earldom promotion, no player faction dares to risk having the priority territory promoted to second-class earldom first. Even Zhao Yi, despite a significant lead in combat power, hasn't been promoted, leaving other player factions to patiently build strength. Some players, and even certain factions, are secretly instigating Cheng Jinling to be promoted to second-class earldom before Zhao Yi, reclaiming the top spot. Both Cheng Jin and the higher-ups in Chen State's official circles ignore these claims. There was absolutely no intention of Cheng Jinling competing with Zhao Yi. The gap in combat power between the two territories was widening, and more importantly, the gap in actual strength. Previously, Zhao Yiling's combat power was lower, but his strength was stronger than Cheng Jinling's. With such a short period of time, this situation was unlikely to change. Instead, Chen State officials planned to promote Zhao Yi first. If he succeeded, Cheng Jinling would then choose to be promoted based on the loss of combat power. Chapter 153 6,000 people. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 48th day since the Blue Star players arrived on the Origin continent. Today was another lucky day. Zhao Yi opened a treasure chest and found a Tier 3 priest recruitment scroll worth 3 million points. The territory would soon have its third priest. Zhao Yi felt that the territory had accumulated sufficient strength over the past few days and it was time to advance to second-class earldom. At the post-breakfast meeting, Zhao Yi formally presented his plan to Cici, Elliot, Braden, and others present, earning their support. Not only did Zhao Yi believe the territory was strong enough, but Cici, Elliot, and the others also believed it was strong enough to achieve a second-class earldom at a relatively low cost. If it weren't for the desire for excessive casualties, the territory's strength would have enabled a promotion 10 days ago. In preparation for tonight's battle for territory advancement, 2.07 million points were earned from destroying the undead last night. 200,000 points were deducted for the second-class earldom advancement, and the remaining points were used to recruit Tier 3 archers. 6 Tier 3 archers could be recruited, effectively boosting the Zhaochang defenders' high-end combat power. To advance the territory, all ongoing development plans have been suspended today, with full preparations for tonight's battle. After Zhao Yi completed today's recruitment, the territory's total population had reached 103,810. While the minimum population requirement for advancement to second-class earldom is only 50,000, Zhao Yi's territory has already far exceeded this figure. However, this 100,000 population is divided into 2 parts, nearly 80,000 on the Origin continent and 25,000 in the demi-plane. The demi-plane's population is not counted towards the territory's advancement requirements. With such a large population, the territory's military strength is even more crucial. With today's recruitment complete, the total strength of the territory's military has reached 11,393, including 5,961 Tier 0 professionals, 4,653 Tier 1 professionals, 718 Tier 2 professionals, and exactly 60 Tier 3 professionals. Tier 3 professionals are of primary importance, with 25 warriors, including 3 archers, 21 archers, 6 assassins, 5 mages, and 3 priests. Zhao Yi and Melissa also represent Tier 3 combatants in the territory. Furthermore, the territory's air cavalry has increased from 15 to 30 cavalrymen. However, the original 15 were all Tier 2 archers, while the newly added 15 are Tier 1 archers. Zhao Yi was frustrated by his inability to recruit air cavalrymen directly using points. The undead air cavalry always posed a significant threat to Zhao City. If he could find other ways to counter them, destroying the incoming undead armies would be much easier. As the sole target of the undead army in the territory promotion battle, the Zhao City defenders have steadily increased in strength, reaching 4,398 men to date. All Tier 3 professionals, the vast majority of Tier 2 professionals, and 2/3 of Tier 1 professionals in the territory are in Zhao City. Tier 0 professionals make up only 1/6 of the territory. After inspecting Zhao City and its surroundings to confirm its preparations for tonight's promotion battle, Zhao Yi unhesitatingly spent 200,000 points to upgrade his rank to second-class Earl. He then selected the promotion option on the territory page. Everything hinged on tonight's battle. Zhao Yi was extremely confident that even with the 4th-tier Lich in command, the Xiaocheng defenders could completely annihilate the incoming undead. Zhao Yi was concerned about the number of professional casualties in the process. He hoped the number would be in the single digits. The number of professionals participating in the battle tonight in Xiaocheng would exceed the current 4,398 defenders. With 2,118 level 0 perfected professionals in the demi-plane, and a maximum of 100 remaining in each town, at least 1,600 would be deployed to Xiaocheng's defenses. All archers in the demi-plane would be required to participate, with over 400 level 0 perfected archers. Warriors would be prioritized for the remaining 1,200, and assassins would not be required. As for mages and priests, their numbers were already low in the territory, so they would not be deployed to the demi-plane. This meant that Xiaocheng, with a population of 30,000, would have a full 6,000 defenders, representing 1/5 of the total population. Even with a ratio as high as 1/5, it's still a bit behind other territories at the top of the rankings, where the population is primarily player-dominated. Chengjin territory, ranked second, has a soldier-to-soldier ratio of nearly 1/4. Comparing territories, Zhao Yi territory boasts a larger army, both in quantity and quality. This is why Zhao Yi territory firmly holds the top spot on the territory combat power ranking and is steadily widening the gap with Chengjin territory. Zhao Yi took a moment to check the forums and saw that, as expected, his elevation to second-class earldom had caused a huge stir. It wasn't until the 30th day after Blue Star players arrived on the Origin continent that Zhao Yi territory and Chengjin territory were the first to successfully ascend to third-class earldoms. Almost 20 days later, a player territory finally challenged a second-class earldom. If a territory wasn't in the top 10, like the strongest territory of the Han Three Kingdoms challenging a third-class earldom, the discussion wouldn't have been so heated. Although the promotion to second-class earldom was a hidden information, all players knew that this hidden player lord's territory was number 1 on the territory combat power ranking. Lucky Sun 413 is finally getting a promotion. He's a very cautious person, and his territory is still very strong. When he was promoted to third-class earldom and faced disasters, the casualties were very low. This time, he must have been absolutely certain of his success before choosing second-class earldom. Keep going, Lucky Sun 413. You're the pride of us individual player lords. You must conquer the territories cultivated by those factions. Now that the first one has taken action, shouldn't Chengjin, the second one, follow suit? If he doesn't, he'll be left far behind, impossible to catch up. Numerous posts appeared on the forum urging Chengjin to follow suit, but Chengjin and the top brass of Chen State's official power remained unmoved. Someone even suggested that Zhao Yi, also a Chen native, post a message on the forum to warn him, urging him to be cautious about advancing his territory and not to give up without absolute certainty. However, after careful consideration, they decided against it. Zhao Yi's past actions and battle records showed that he was a very cautious person who wouldn't blindly advance his territory. This time, he chose to advance to second-class earldom, presumably because he had a greater chance of success with fewer casualties. The emergence of Zhao Yi's territory has repeatedly drawn criticism from Chen officials. While the training of Cheng Jinling hasn't increased, the current level of support has allowed him to maintain his second-place position and steadily widen the gap with third place. As Cheng Jinling's gap widens, Zhao Yiling's gap widens. Under these circumstances, officials within Chen are unsure how much more resources they need to invest in Cheng Jinling to catch up with Zhao Yiling. Zhao Yiling's lord is a Chen native, and Cheng Jinling's gap with other player territories is steadily widening. Coupled with internal competition, Cheng Jinling's training remains at a stalemate. The data jumps around, making me dizzy while writing this chapter. Chapter 154, Terror Night. As night fell, countless players zeroed in on the top-ranked player on the territory combat power ranking, closely monitoring their power values. It wasn't until almost the second hour after nightfall that the power value finally changed, dropping only 10 points, signifying the death of a Tier 0 professional. It's moving. It's moving. The boss's territory is already engaged in battle with the undead horde. However, several minutes passed before the power value changed again, dropping another 10 points. Something's amiss. Could this be a battle in one of the boss's affiliated villages? Many speculated similarly. With only one Tier 0 professional dying at a time, and several minutes between new casualties, it didn't seem like a major battle erupted in the main city. Unbeknownst to all the players following Zhao Yiling's promotion battle, even before the initial 10-point power drop, the Xiaocheng defenders had already eliminated the first wave of incoming undead, awaiting the arrival of the second. The first wave of undead was weak, numbering over 10,000, but entirely skeletons. There were no cavalry or Tier 4 undead. Tier 1 undead comprised roughly 1/10 of the first wave, 1/100th of the second, and 2,000ths of the third, a typical ratio. The Xiaocheng defenders completely annihilated the first wave without a single casualty. Casualties occurred in the surrounding towns and villages. The more ordinary the situation, the more Zhao Yi understood the difficulty of the third wave. The previous wave was all cannon fodder, while the elite troops were concentrated in the third wave. Many Lord players had experienced this situation. Soon, the second wave arrived, still composed entirely of skeletons, but with a slightly higher proportion of Tier 1, 2, and 3 undead. Zhao Yi ignored the second wave, handing over battle command to Elliot and not participating in the fight to eliminate it. Even without the bonuses from his own legion skills, the Xiaocheng defenders easily dealt with this second wave. Melissa, reverting to her silver dragon form, carried Zhao Yi and Joanna off. Behind them were the 25 air troopers who had been stationed in Xiaocheng, while another 5 air troopers were scouting outside to monitor the undead's movements. Facing a potentially unprecedentedly powerful third wave of undead, Zhao Yi had decided during the pre-battle meeting to proactively attack, aiming to eliminate as many of the undead's air troopers as possible. The undead air troopers posed the greatest threat to Xiaocheng. Eliminating more of them would effectively alleviate the pressure on Xiaocheng's defenders and reduce the mage tower's energy consumption. Since this was a proactive attack, the third wave of undead was at least 30 minutes away, by land. Zhao Yi also brought the only small magic cannon in his territory, charging it to maximum power beforehand. Besides the small magic crystal cannon, Zhao Yi's weapons included a magic gun, a platinum bow, a crystal longsword, a golden longsword, as well as items like high-level alchemical bombs and 4th-tier spell scrolls. The crystal longsword was one of the best items to be found in a crystal treasure chest containing only one crystal card. Crystal-grade equipment typically sells for over 1,000 mid-grade magic crystals. Zhao Yi's crystal sword, mass-produced by the gods, has relatively average properties. But it could still fetch at least 3,000 mid-grade magic crystals, equivalent to 300,000 low-grade magic crystals. Selling the crystal sword would free Zhao Yi from worrying about magic crystals for a while. However, he couldn't sell the crystal sword. Platinum equipment would be fine. After all, other European-class players also sell platinum equipment, and the indigenous people were already accustomed to it. This crystal equipment might be new to the market, and its value would inevitably attract the attention of some indigenous forces, and the market couldn't be completely kept secret. Since the crystal sword couldn't be sold, Zhao Yi had to use it himself. Zhao Yi and his air cavalry flew along the undead army's route, joined by air cavalry on reconnaissance missions. Just 5 minutes later, the undead air cavalry appeared in Zhao Yi's sight. Based on their size, he estimated their number to be at least 1,000. As they drew closer, Zhao Yi gathered more intelligence on the undead sky troopers. They numbered around 1,000, with approximately 400 of them riding larger mounts, each accompanied by at least 2 zombies. The combination of undead sky troopers and zombies clearly meant another round of aerial bombardment, with the estimated number of zombies carrying the corpse explosion technique also around 1,000. 600 undead sky troopers carried no zombies, likely guarding against the human sky troopers. Zhao Yi even spotted a 4th-tier sky trooper among the undead sky troopers, a terror knight riding a 4th-tier mount. Tier 0 is the skeleton knight, tiers 1 to 3 are the dark knight, tiers 4 to 6 are the terror knight, and tier 7 and above are the soul reaver death side, as recorded in the undead atlas. The terror knight's appearance made Zhao Yi frown. Destroying him would be no easy task. Zhao Yi spotted the undead sky troopers and the massive undead army on the ground. Zhao Yi and his group were also spotted by the undead. Under the Lich's command, the Terror Knight, with 300 undead sky troopers, charged towards Zhao Yi and his group. "I'll fire a shot, then you quickly retreat to both sides," Zhao Yi quickly instructed the human sky troopers behind him as they charged. Seeing the distance between the Terror Knight and Zhao Yi less than 600 meters, Zhao Yi grabbed his already fully charged small monocannon and fired directly at the Terror Knight. A beam of energy shot directly at the Terror Knight, but the Terror Knight dodged it in an instant. While the Terror Knight could easily dodge the monocannon's attack, the undead sky troopers below level 4 behind him could not. The energy beam pierced through a level 3 undead sky trooper and 2 level 2 undead sky troopers. The subsequent explosion from the concentrated energy killed 8 or 9 nearby undead sky troopers, and sustained varying degrees of damage to a dozen more. The Terror Knight, oblivious to the situation behind him, charged straight at the two men and the dragon. Zhao Yi had no intention of engaging the Terror Knight in close combat. In sync with Melissa, they immediately retreated. Zhao Yi charged his magic cannon while Joanna prepared the 4th tier spell scroll, Devil's Vine Strangulation. Devil's Vine Strangulation was an offensive spell, but its damage wasn't particularly great. More importantly, it had a binding effect. As long as he could bind the Terror Knight for a few seconds, Zhao Yi could kill him with his magic cannon. Apparently believing that a single Terror Knight couldn't kill a human dragon rider, the 4th tier Lich on the ground commanded a squadron of undead sky riders to descend, intending to ride their mounts and personally join the battle in the sky, pursuing Zhao Yi. While his small magic cannon was still charging, Zhao Yi unsheathed his platinum bow and fired super explosive arrows at the Terror Knight, but the Terror Knight easily dodged each time. Look at the subscription. Many people don't like to subscribe to the chapters describing the battle process. It should be because the author's writing is not exciting enough. In the future, the battle process will be simplified. Please don't skip it. Chapter 155 ran away. The two sides were closing in on each other. Zhao Yi wanted the Terror Knight to catch up, but the speed of the 3rd tier Silver Dragon couldn't match the Terror Knight's 4th tier mount. After all, there was a tier difference, a huge one between 3rd and 4th. As soon as Zhao Yi's small magic cannon finished charging and he took it, the Terror Knight dodged up and down, left and right, preventing him from finding a chance to attack. Despite the Terror Knight's constant dodging, the distance between them continued to close. Closer. Closer. The Terror Knight, brandishing his massive scythe, charged at the Silver Dragon. Seizing the opportunity, Joanna activated the Scroll of Magic Vine Strangulation and, with all her might, aimed a precise strike at the Terror Knight. The black, metallic-hued magic vines instantly engulfed both rider and mount. Almost as soon as the magic vines struck the Terror Knight, Zhao Yi unleashed the small magic cannon and fired. At such close range, the energy beam landed accurately on the Terror Knight in the blink of an eye. The violent explosion ripped the Terror Knight and the magic vines draped over him to shreds, severely damaging his 4th tier mount. Zhao Yi fired a super explosive arrow, but was completely destroyed. Had the Terror Knight been closer, both the duo and the dragon would have been caught in the blast. After defeating the Terror Knight, Zhao Yi set his sights on the 4th tier Lich that had just taken flight. The 4th tier Lich was stunned upon seeing the Terror Knight destroyed by Zhao Yi, but the next second, it returned to the ground without hesitation. Zhao Yi missed an opportunity to destroy the Lich. Liches were not knights, and they lacked the agility of the Terror Knight in the air. He glanced at the surrounding human air cavalry. With a blessing of the wind, all the human air cavalry retreated, sparing the 1st tier undead air cavalry and focusing on the 3rd and 2nd tiers. With only the 1st tier remaining, they were no match for the human air cavalry. Among the pursuing undead air cavalry were archers, but Zhao Yi had equipped all of them with silver bows and extended-range explosive arrows. At range, none of the undead archers could match a single 1st tier human air cavalry. This is the power of Krypton Gold. Zhao Yi ignored the pursuing undead sky troopers. The Silver Dragon circled and charged towards the undead sky troopers carrying zombies. The Lich, understanding the human dragon rider's intention, immediately ordered the undead sky troopers carrying zombies to descend and reunite with the undead army on the ground. The previous pursuit and fight with the Terror Knights had already created a considerable distance between them, and the undead sky troopers carrying zombies were flying at a low altitude, less than 1,000 meters. By the time the Silver Dragon circled back, the 400 undead sky troopers were less than 100 meters above the ground, each spreading out slightly, fearing they would be caught in a single blow. The Lich had even preemptively enhanced the undead sky troopers and some skeleton archers. There was no reason to give up. Under Zhao Yi's command, Melissa dived toward the ground. Zhao Yi took out 3 intermediate alchemical bombs, and Joanna activated them, intending to test the waters. When they were only 200 meters from the ground, Zhao Yi released all 3, and Melissa's dragon body immediately lifted up, returning to the sky. Throwing the alchemical bombs with all his might, Zhao Yi sent them careening towards the ground. The undead didn't just stand by and watch them fall. Under the Lich's command, numerous skeleton archers launched arrows at the bombs. Just 3 alchemical bombs were intercepted by thousands of arrows. All 3 were hit by bow and arrows, completely damaged. They didn't explode, and there was no way they could be detonated. If the bombs were to detonate just by being touched, it would be too dangerous. The 3 intermediate-level alchemical bombs couldn't even reach the undead. Zhao Yi abandoned the advanced alchemical bombs from the crystal treasure chest and instead continued to use small mana cannons, consuming the least amount of mana crystals and firing at the ground with minimal impact. He didn't attack the Lich, but only areas with dense undead populations, especially those with high numbers of 2nd and 3rd tier undead. While the mana cannons were recharging, he continued to fire explosive arrows from his platinum bows, targeting the scattered undead air cavalry carrying zombies. Seeing Zhao Yi's tactics, the Lich on the ground was furious, but there was no way to destroy or drive Zhao Yi away. Such a powerful undead army was held back by a single level 3 human dragon knight. What a shame. The Lich summoned all the undead sky troopers from the sky to besiege Zhao Yi. However, without level 4 undead sky troopers, they couldn't fly fast enough to catch up to Zhao Yi. Without undead sky troopers to pursue, the other human sky troopers attacked the undead sky troopers carrying zombies on the ground. Undead continued to succumb to the attacks of mana cannons and explosive arrows. Before the 3rd wave of undead entered the battlefield of Xiaocheng, they had already lost nearly 1,000 undead, including a terror knight. After much hesitation, the Lich decided to retreat. Under the Lich's command, the undead army retreated at a sprinting speed in the direction they had come from. Even the undead sky troopers that had been harassing Zhao Yi retreated to the cemetery southwest, ignoring Zhao Yi's attacks on the undead on the ground. Both the undead sky troopers and the land troopers were elite troops. He preferred to let the ground cannon fodder die in order to preserve as many undead sky troopers as possible. I failed this time, but I'll have another chance. Don't let me get another chance, damned human dragon knights, the Lich raged with rage, unable to vent. The 3rd wave of undead was driven off by him and his 30 human air cavalrymen. Zhao Yi was speechless. Those were all points and experience points, and they just ran away. Zhao Yi couldn't bear to let them slip away, so he chased them for 10 minutes before retreating with a human air cavalryman. Zhao Yi didn't dare get too close to the cemetery, especially at night, as it was extremely dangerous. Only by becoming a 4th-level Dragon Knight and having several 4th-level professionals under his command could he conduct a few daytime explorations of the nearest cemetery. Entering the cemetery without sufficient strength was courting death. Leaving 5 2nd-level air cavalrymen on reconnaissance duty, Zhao Yi led the remaining air cavalrymen back to Xiaocheng. The professionals on the defensive line were still awaiting the arrival of the 3rd wave of undead. But after waiting for so long, the Lord and the air troopers didn't return. And neither did the undead army. Elliot, Brayden, and the others grew worried about the Lord and sent out Tier 3 assassins to search for him. Before the assassins returned, the Lord and his air troopers did. There's no 3rd wave of undead. We've won, Zhao Yi, riding a dragon, shouted from low in the sky. Hearing the Lord's shouts, even though he didn't understand what was going on, he cheered. Million victory! Million victory, the Lord is invincible. Melissa landed on the ground, and Elliot, Brayden, Lowry, and the others hurried over, their faces filled with questions, wondering why the 3rd wave of undead had vanished. The 3rd wave retreated on their own. Worried they might return, I left a few air troopers to monitor the cemetery. Everyone remained puzzled. How could the undead simply retreat on their own? Seeing their eagerness to learn, Zhao Yi recounted his journey in detail, earning their respect. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 Free Intelligence. Victory was achieved. Only 2 level 0 warriors perished on this Haochang battlefield, but the third wave of undead fled with points and experience. Based on the proportion of each level within the third wave, the value was over 1,000,000 points. Zhao Yi had never imagined that his preemptive attack, intended solely to reduce the number of incoming undead sky troopers, would ultimately force the third wave to retreat. Even if he hadn't launched the attack, the intermediate mage tower and the large amount of magic crystals he had prepared would have been sufficient to withstand the undead sky troopers' aerial bombardment. While the retreat of the third wave of undead reduced the likelihood of accidents, casualties, and the consumption of military supplies and magic crystals, the loss of points and experience, as well as the loss of a crystal card from the crystal chest, left Zhao Yi deeply frustrated. It was such a shame. If only he could neutralize the situation, eliminate a few undead sky troopers and retreat, the undead army would have continued its assault on Haocheng. However, plans couldn't change quickly. The undead were constantly changing their tactics. Last time, all the undead sky troopers were accompanied by zombies, but this time only a portion were present. Terror knights also appeared, clearly preparatory measures to counter the human sky troopers. Regardless, the war was won by the humans, and they hadn't suffered many casualties. Since the third wave of undead retreated, resulting in fewer than 2,000 casualties, they might seek another opportunity to attack. Zhao Yi planned to hold his ground for a few hours, while Elliot went to rest and wait for his shift change in the second half of the night. Joanna had already taken up her training, and Melissa sat obediently beside Zhao Yi. Zhao Yi, too, had the urge to practice, and before he did, he opened the forum to check. It's been so long, and the boss's territory power hasn't fluctuated much? Could it be that he's just increasing his rank, and isn't seeking a territory promotion today? Is it just the fighting in the villages surrounding the boss's territory, with no fighting in the main city yet? Could it be that the boss's territory is too strong, and the territory promotion battle is just like any other? Players speculated about the slight fluctuation in Zhao Yi's territory power, and many waited for him to appear. After a moment's thought, Zhao Yi edited a message and sent it out as, Lucky Sun 413. Sorry, there was a small incident. The territory promotion battle just ended. The first 2 waves were weak, so we didn't lose many soldiers. The third wave of undead was very strong, but I defeated them before they even entered the battlefield. That's a huge loss of points and experience. So sad. A second later, messages appeared in the post's comment section. I'm sorry, sir, you're invincible, sir, keep pushing forward. Don't let those player lords overtake you. Hello, I'm a diplomat from the Eli Kingdom. Can we chat privately? We'd like to provide detailed information about the second-class earldom promotion battle. This Chen Kingdom player lord is too strong, and the gap between him and Cheng Jinling is widening. I suspect he's been recruited by the Chen Kingdom officials and is receiving official resources. The number 1 player on the battle power list won the territory promotion battle with almost no losses. Does this mean that the top 10 territories will all be promoted to second-class earldoms? Zhao Yi saw the message from the Eli Kingdom diplomat, and an idea occurred to him. The game has national boundaries, and so do the players. The conflict of interest on Blue Planet resurfaces in the game world, with the strongest official Chen faction pitted against an alliance led by the Eli Nation. Perhaps driven by the perceived strength of the official Chen faction, more foreign player factions are joining the anti-Chen movement, besieging all Chen player factions, including the official Chen faction. Chen has some allies, but most are relatively weak. Currently, the focus is on territory development, coupled with nightly battles against the undead. Especially after the 2-day disaster, the number of player lords has dwindled, and competition between player factions has been less intense, allowing the Chen player factions to hold their own for now. As a Chen native, Zhao Yi would rather see all foreign player factions eliminated from the game world, leaving only the Chen player factions to compete against each other, leaving the meat rotting in the pot. Therefore, Zhao Yi intends to provide some assistance to the official Chen faction. I've got some information for you. During the promotion battle, multiple 4th-tier undead, including a 4th-tier lich, will appear. The lich can continuously cast mass reinforcement spells, but the most threatening threat is the undead sky cavalry, which will carry large numbers of zombies as carriers for corpse explosion and conduct aerial bombardments. It's recommended that you prepare means to deal with the 4th-tier undead and aerial bombardments before choosing to advance. Zhao Yi sent this information directly to Cheng Jin via private chat. Originally, Zhao Yi planned to sell the information to Cheng Jin for 10 level 2 advancement stones to upgrade the Tree of Life. This information was even more valuable than 10 level 3 advancement stones, but how to collect the money was a problem. The official forces of Chen Kingdom could use the high-end market in the indigenous cities, but Zhao Yi didn't intend to use the high-end market in his own territory, as that would inevitably reveal his territory to be in the Violet Kingdom's Rhoda province. So, it was better to send the information for free. About an hour later, Cheng Jin replied to Zhao Yi's message. They were all powerful players, receiving countless private messages daily. Cheng Jin didn't have much time to read them, but since he was following Lucky Sun 413, Zhao Yi's private message was ranked first, catching his attention. Cheng Jin believed Zhao Yi's intelligence was over 90% accurate, so he immediately sent a message back, thanking him for the information and hoping for more exchanges in the future, such as important intelligence. Cheng Jin waited and waited, but after 2 hours, Zhao Yi didn't respond. He wasn't angry, assuming he was taking a break, or perhaps that was just the way he came across. While waiting for Zhao Yi's reply, Cheng Jin summoned several of his officers to discuss the information Zhao Yi had sent regarding the territory promotion battle. Cheng Jin had already suspected and prepared for the appearance of Tier 4 undead and even Tier 4 liches in the promotion battle, but the Tier 4 lich's continuous use of mass enhancement spells was a bit unexpected. Even more surprising was the undead air cavalry's aerial bombardment, as air control was crucial. Cheng Jin's territory had a way to defend against the undead air cavalry's aerial bombardment, the magic shield cast by the Mage Tower. Cheng Jin's lord also had a primary Mage Tower in his city, a reinforcement provided by the higher-ups, along with other compensation for the lord who drew the Mage Tower. While the magic shield cast by the Mage Tower could protect against aerial bombardment, it had numerous limitations. If the undead used their ground coordination, it would be troublesome. He needed to find other ways to counter undead aerial bombardment, and Cheng Jin set his sights on the air cavalry. Cheng Jin had air cavalry. 15 first-tier Pegasus drawn from treasure chests, as well as 5 second-tier Pegasus and 15 first-tier Pegasus transferred from other territories by Chen state officials. Cheng Jin's air cavalry force had 5 more cavalry than Zhao Yi's. A plan emerged in Cheng Jin's mind: expand the air cavalry force, using air cavalry to counter air cavalry. However, the undead air cavalry would number at least 1,000 upon their arrival, and his own air cavalry would be insufficient. After discussing with his subordinates, Cheng Jin made a decision to change the resources allocated to the territory, reducing some resources in exchange for increasing flying mounts. The air cavalry unit must have more than 100 cavalry to be able to effectively contain the undead air cavalry. For the time being, Cheng Jin does not plan to send the intelligence given by Zhao Yi to the higher-ups. One of the reasons is that he is worried that the intelligence will be leaked to the outside world if too many people know it. Another reason is Cheng Jin himself. Cheng Jin wants to be the second to be promoted to the second-class earldom. After Cheng Jin passes the promotion battle, other territories will prepare to be promoted to the second-class earldom based on Cheng Jin's experience. For the protagonist, there must be some small surprises. If you feel that this small surprise is a poisonous point, the author does not know what to do. Chapter 157 Berserker. You won 28 battles, you destroyed 40,361 undead, you lost 6 soldiers, battle rating, XCE, points increased by 92.2%, professional experience increased by 92.2%, received 1 crystal chest, 3 gold chests, 24 bronze chests, Dragon Knight class upgrade. After the disaster, Zhao Yi's class upgrade to Dragon Knight dropped to level 30. 16 days have passed, and his combat class level has only reached level 34. Even with a 92.2% bonus to combat class experience from battle settlements, his progress is increasingly slow. Zhao Yi's territory now experiences 28 battles per night, fought across Zhaocheng, 3 towns, A, B, and C, and 24 villages. After closing the battle settlement page, Zhao Yi first checked his points store. He had a little over 80,000 points left yesterday, but now it's 3.36 million. If he can completely defeat the third wave of undead, his points could reach 4.5 million. Open the treasure chest, and click on the crystal chest. For the past 10 days, Zhao Yi hadn't had high hopes for the single crystal card in the crystal treasure chest. If it weren't for the bug, his luck would probably be just average, or slightly better. Now, Zhao Yi's anticipation was heightened. Today's crystal treasure chest would contain at least 2 crystal cards. After scanning the 49 cards, Zhao Yi's eyes lit up. There were actually 3 crystal cards, quite a good deal. He chose 2 crystal cards, Small Magic Cannon, and Tier 2 Pegasus 66. He chose 3 platinum cards, Tier 3 Shield Warrior Recruitment Scroll 4, Tier 3 Wind Mage Recruitment Scroll, and Level 5 Advancement Stone. He chose 2 gold cards, Tier 1 Earth Mage Recruitment Scroll 4, and Berserker Class Transfer Scroll. The Small Magic Cannon, capable of destroying Tier 4 human characters or undead, was the better. If Zhao Yi's territory had a sufficient number of small mana cannons, even if a 4th tier lich was well prepared, a salvo of several would shatter it to pieces. The small town run by the Morris family, also a second-class earldom, possessed at least 6 small mana cannons, but Zhao Yi's territory was still too few. 66 second-tier Pegasus meant the territory's air cavalry could be expanded by another 66, just 4 short of 100. All air cavalry were equipped with silver bows and extended-range explosive arrows, allowing them to operate closer to the undead, eliminating the need for aerial bombardment tactics. Only 4th-tier undead air cavalry proved more difficult to defeat. Using only small mana cannons, at least 4 would be needed to destroy a free-flying 4th-tier undead air cavalry from a distance. The Berserker class transformation scroll offered another unique yet common class. According to Zhao Yi's information, several indigenous nations on the origin continent maintained entire Berserker units. The Small Magic Cannon and Level 2 Pegasus 66 are both valuable items that effectively increase the strength of the territory. Zhao Yi was already satisfied. Even if the remaining treasure chests were filled with junk, it wouldn't dampen his spirits. Opening 3 more gold treasure chests, the Level 3 Archer Recruitment Scroll, and Small Teleportation Array, within them brightened Zhao Yi's mood even further. Zhao City only has 1 primary teleportation array, and daily recruitments occupy the array for a long time. Adding another primary array would have the total time it takes to transport recruits to Zhao City. If more primary arrays were opened in the future, Zhao City could simply add 2 array bases. While the road from a second-class earldom to a first-class earldom was still manageable, Zhao Yi felt the difficulty of advancing from a first-class earldom to a third-class marquisate would increase significantly. He still had 24 bronze treasure chests left, and he patiently opened them one by one. Zhao Yi planned to do a 10-game streak when he reached 30 bronze treasure chests per day. If a 10-game streak yields something good, multiply it by 10. The remaining 20 bronze chests can be opened in 2 10-game streaks, saving time. If the first 10-game streak yields nothing good, the remaining bronze chests can be opened one by one. Zhao Yi's biggest hope now is to have a 10-game streak, directly yielding 10 level 2 advancement stones, allowing the Tree of Life to reach level 2 and condense a few more drops of Water of Life each day. Previously, the Tree of Life condensed 1 drop of Water of Life daily, giving Zhao Yi and Melissa 2 drops each, and the rest of the troops a drop each, based on their importance. In reality, with the current battle situation in the territory, the more important the personnel, the less likely they are to use Water of Life. However, in critical situations, such as this promotion battle, when the danger level is increased, Zhao Yi uses Water of Life to save lives. On one occasion, Zhao Yi diluted a drop of Water of Life and gave it to soldiers who had bravely fought but were wounded, boosting their loyalty. After opening the treasure chest, Zhao Yi glanced at Melissa beside him. Melissa's silver eyes stared at him unblinkingly. "Let's go home and have breakfast." "Yeah." The lazy silver dragon girl quickly got up from her meal and dragged Zhao Yi towards the Lord's mansion. While eating breakfast, Zhao Yi checked the changes to his territory after being promoted to second-class earldom. Second-class earldom, Lord, Zhao Yi, territory area. 1,000 square kilometers, main city, Zhao Town, a second-class small city, 2 square kilometers, subordinates, Town A, Town B, Town C, Tishi Village, Second Village, Third Village, population. 78,632, 103,804, 100,000, military force. 10,889, 11,389, public sentiment. 79, public security. 78, buildings. The territory's area has doubled. The nearest cemetery, located about 15 kilometers southwest of the main city, remains unknown, but hopefully not. After being upgraded to a second-tier small city, Zhaocheng's land area doubled. The population threshold for territory upgrades had risen to 100,000, and Zhaocheng also needed a population of 60,000. There were also slots for 3 newly added annexed towns. After some thought, Zhao Yi determined that the most important development plan for the territory was to build the 3 new annexed towns as soon as possible, with a population of over 3,000. This would mean 3 more gold treasure chests could be obtained daily. As for upgrading towns A, B, and C to first-tier towns, establishing more annexed villages, and even increasing Zhaocheng's population, these could be taken more slowly. The promotion from a third-tier earldom to a second-tier earldom took 19 days, and that was accelerated by a disaster. The promotion from a second-tier earldom to a first-tier earldom, Zhao Yi felt, would take more than a month. Compared to upgrading towns A, B, and C and increasing their populations, increasing Zhaocheng's population was the least urgent. Upgrading towns A, B, and C and increasing their populations would also continue to increase the number of gold cards in the gold treasure chests, and establishing annexed villages would also yield more bronze treasure chests. The only way is to increase the population of Zhaocheng, even if it is increased from the current 30,000 to the upgraded standard 60,000. The undead that attack every night cannot make the crystal treasure chest have another crystal card. Chapter 158 Air Supremacy. In the City Hall meeting room, Zhao Yi and his subordinates discussed the construction sites for the 3 new towns, Ding, Wu, and Ji. While the specific locations weren't finalized after some discussion, their approximate locations were determined and required further exploration. The most important aspect of establishing a new town area was that the nightly undead attacks couldn't converge with those from other towns or even the main city. They also needed to be separated from the undead's routes heading toward the villages as much as possible. If this was unavoidable, overlapping routes were acceptable. Overlapping routes meant that only one village wouldn't be attacked by the undead, but the number of bronze treasure chests would decrease by 1 per day. Even after being promoted to a marquisate, the number of bronze treasure chests would decrease from 1 to an iron 1. Establishing a town, however, offered the opportunity to obtain gold treasure chests, making it clear that towns were more important than villages. If a village wasn't attacked by the undead every night, there was no need to immediately dismantle it, but some of the garrisons could be withdrawn to strengthen the town's defenses. Soon, the 6 towns, 3 new and 3 old, spread out from Zhaocheng. Unless an outsider could fly, they would typically only discover one of the 6 towns first, making it easy to misjudge the strength of Zhao Yi's territory. By the time the meeting ended and Zhao Yi arrived at a teleportation array area to recruit personnel, a second primary teleportation array had already appeared. While Zhao Yi was meeting with his subordinates, Ignaz, tasked with installing a new primary teleportation array, had already completed inspection. As Zhao Yi began recruiting, the 2 teleportation arrays lit up almost simultaneously, each displaying a family. The territory had just been upgraded, and everyone in Zhaocheng was extremely busy. Zhao Yi, who had delegated most of the work to his subordinates, was able to relax a bit. After recruiting personnel in Zhaocheng and the 3 towns of A, B, and C, he conducted inspections, returning to the Lord's residence to cultivate. Cici was also busy. Zhaocheng had just been upgraded to a second-tier city, doubling its size. They needed to dismantle the original first line of defense, replace the second line with a new wall, and then build a new outermost line. A small change reduced the workload of the defensive work. Due to the territory's increased strength and the large number of undead above level 0 that invaded each night, standard traps had become much less effective, making it impossible for his own soldiers to form a formation to resist the undead. Therefore, establishing a new perimeter defense eliminated the need to mobilize manpower to dig traps. If there was time left, the existing traps would be refilled, leaving only the magical metal fences as a defensive perimeter. Zhao Yi preferred to use magical materials for Zhaocheng's walls. While suitable magical materials existed and were inexpensive, building 4 walls would require far too many, and the territory's current financial resources were insufficient. The Morris family had been a noble family for over 200 years, and even with the wealth accumulated over those 2 centuries, it was not enough to build all 4 walls of Morris City with magical materials. This ultimately led to Morris City being downgraded from a second-tier to a third-tier city. This was also due to the rapid upgrade time of Zhao Yi's territory's main city, which had been upgraded from a third-tier village to a second-tier city, taking less than 50 days. Even without magical materials, building walls with only mud would require frequent demolition and construction of new walls, wasting manpower. Preserving the old walls was unsuitable for Zhao Yi. 1 or 2 walls would have been fine, but the imperial city, inner city, and outer city, 3 walls. If Zhao Yi had started building walls from the 3rd level town, it would have 4 by now, with a 5th under construction. There was no need for this. If possible, Zhao Yi also wanted Zhao Yi to use magical materials to build its walls. With these materials, it would be easier to defend against the nightly undead attacks. Since they couldn't afford to buy the magical materials needed for the walls, it would depend on whether they could find magical minerals somewhere in the territory. The territory was constantly expanding, and he had an earth mage who moonlighted as a prospector. While he had found many ordinary mineral veins, he had yet to discover magical minerals. He hoped the newly added 500 square kilometers of land would yield some results. Elliot and Lori were also busy. One was responsible for arranging new recruits for the territory's army, as well as transferring personnel from Zhao Yi to increase the garrison troops needed due to the population growth in towns A, B, and C. The other was responsible for expanding the air cavalry unit. Currently, the air cavalry unit consisted of only 30 cavalry. 15 second-tier air cavalry and 15 first-tier air cavalry. Second-tier air cavalry consists of second-tier archers and mounts of second-tier Pegasus. First-tier air cavalry consists of first-tier archers and mounts of first-tier Pegasus. There are now 66 more second-tier Pegasus, but the territory doesn't have that many second-tier archers. Archers already have mounts, so switching to Pegasus isn't a problem. However, transitioning from land-based cavalry to aerial flight requires some training. This is why air cavalry is trained while performing patrols and surveying duties. Since there aren't enough second-tier archers, first-tier archers can only be assigned second-tier Pegasus, and Pegasus absolutely cannot be left idle. Facing the formidable threat of undead air cavalry, the larger the territory's air cavalry force, the better. Using air cavalry to counter air cavalry is the right approach. A combination of first-tier archers and second-tier Pegasus is still just first-tier air cavalry. After all, the combat effectiveness of air cavalry depends on the knight itself. The mount is just that, a mount. For archers, their mount's primary function is flight, while the heavy cavalry's mount also charges and rams the enemy alongside the knight. Air cavalry is also cavalry. While regular cavalry can barely be considered common, air cavalry is an elite unit, both in the undead and human factions. A key reason for this is the relative scarcity of flying mounts. Faced with massive sieges, indigenous cities have been drastically reducing their numbers of Tier 0 war horses. Previously, each cavalryman possessed at least 2 horses, but now only 1, or even none at all. The human faction lacks the strength to launch a large-scale counterattack against the undead. Knights are forced to dismount and engage the undead on the city walls, and are not allowed to ride out of the city walls to fight. If circumstances prohibit this, the number of Tier 1 mounts will be reduced, but the number of flying mounts will definitely not be reduced. In fact, the desire is to continuously increase the number of flying mounts. Ideally, all cavalry units will be air cavalry. Air cavalry possesses significant advantages over land cavalry, a term often used on the origin continent to translate as air supremacy. As long as air cavalry fly high enough, archers, mages, and monocannons on the ground cannot reach them. Instead, air cavalry can fire arrows and drop alchemical bombs from the air, effectively attacking the ground. When Zhao Yi's territory lacked air cavalry, facing the undead air cavalry, Zhao Yi, as the lord, had to personally fight against hundreds or even thousands of them. The danger Zhao Yi faced was considerable, but he had to do so. Otherwise, the undead air cavalry would consume vast quantities of magic crystals, leaving the mage tower without any magic crystals to recharge, rendering it useless as a decisive weapon against a 4th-tier undead. If the undead coordinated their air-ground attack, with the undead ground forces aided by the air cavalry, the Zhao Yi defenders, even if they expended all their alchemical bombs and spell scrolls, would suffer far greater casualties than the actual toll of the previous night. Zhao Yi also wanted to build a larger air cavalry force, but he couldn't obtain flying mounts from them like Cheng Jinling could. He could buy them from the indigenous cities, but the prices were extremely high. Fortunately, Zhao Yi's air cavalry force expanded to a size where even the second-tier archers were insufficient. However, The expanded air cavalry accounted for less than 1% of the territory's total military strength. Chapter 159 Restrictions. With the cavalry dispatched, the locations for the three towns, Ding, Wu, and Ji, were quickly determined, and the construction plan officially began. The first step, lasting only 1 day, involved building roads and establishing a village. While towns A, B, and C were initially established as level 1 villages, D, Wu, and G were initially established as level 3 villages. These were very simple level 3 villages, lacking metal fences, traps, or houses. They looked like temporary camps. If it weren't for the game's rules, Zhao Yi wouldn't have bothered to confirm village establishment on the territory page, instead assigning personnel to build a temporary camp. Only villages and cities confirmed by the system would have a single wave of undead attacking them from the cemetery. Villages and cities not confirmed by the system would only be temporary camps, where the latest wave of undead would be deployed. The upgrade from a level 1 village to a level 3 village primarily concerned the nightly undead attacks. Upon establishing a level 1 village, a population of 1,200 and a garrison of 118 men could be established within the same day. A new village can be built with additional reinforcements on the first day, but this isn't a guarantee, especially as the number of villages and towns within a territory increases. It's easy for two groups of undead to merge. The location of a new town must be designed to prevent the undead from both target towns from merging. If only undead from one target village merge, the new town's location won't be changed, as the quota for the next town has already been filled. However, if the number of undead attacking a new town exceeds the planned number, the town's garrison strength will need to be adjusted, and this must be planned in advance. This involves the mobilization of professional families and the ratio of civilian to professional families in the town. The ratio of civilian to professional families in each city is crucial. Don't expect professional families to do the hard work. Some professional families even employ civilians as servants. In the future, Zhao Yi's territory may even see the emergence of major military towns, housing large numbers of professionals. If all the professional families reside in these towns, there won't be much room for civilian families. Zhao Yi has considered this matter and has already developed a plan with C.C. Elliott and others. The plan focused on the demi-plane. Professionals would serve as garrison personnel for a town or village within the territory. They could choose to relocate their families to a safer and more comfortable demi-plane, effectively alleviating pressure on the territory. Zhao Yi had already prepared for the potential impact of a combined undead force. Prior to this, he needed to determine whether two or more groups of undead were merging, allowing for more precise garrison deployment. A third-level village would be established first, but once completed, it wouldn't be immediately populated. Zhao Yi had originally planned to deploy a small team of 20 to 30 cavalry or assassins. Night attacks wouldn't require engagement. The main focus would be on observing the attacking undead and determining whether two or more groups were merging. Once confirmed, the professionals stationed in the village could retreat to the nearest city. Cavalry, with their horses, were faster, while assassins could conceal their presence. With the expansion of the air cavalry, Zhao Yi set his sights on the air cavalry, which was both capable of both attack and flight. After determining the location for the town, it's time to upgrade the third-level village to a first-level village, increase the population, and install a teleportation array in preparation for the upgrade to a town. Compared to towns A, B, and C, the locations of the three new towns, D, Wu, and G, are farther from Zhaocheng as the direct line passes, but construction progress hasn't slowed down in the slightest. As the territory's total population and military strength increase, the number of Earth mages will also increase proportionally. Furthermore, with the completion of the 5 towns within the demi-plane, more civilians will be involved in subsequent house construction, allowing for the deployment of a large number of Earth mages for road construction. It would be even better if there were no game rules restricting the area. Zhao Yi could dispatch several cavalry or assassin squads to establish temporary camps outside and determine which one would be the most suitable location for the new town. A location that wouldn't be joined by the undead attacking other towns or villages would be the most suitable for building a new town, and then proceed with road construction and village development. Many things are impossible to achieve perfection, whether building a new town or the nightly battles within the territory. Zhao Yi desperately hopes that no one in the territory will die in battle every night. While maintaining a small territory with a small population is manageable, as the territory expands and the population grows, it becomes increasingly difficult to prevent the dead. Since perfection is impossible, trade-offs are inevitable. When building new towns, the choice is between gold and bronze chests. 10 bronze chests are often worth less than 1 gold chest. Gold chests are far more valuable than bronze chests, even more so than the possibility that bronze chests produced by a village will be downgraded to iron chests. Should Zhao Yi stop building villages and focus on building and upgrading them? Zhao Yi pondered the question briefly before deciding to build both towns and villages. Only when a village's treasure chests are downgraded to the lowest common level would Zhao Yi forego building more villages for the treasure chests. Even if a village can only produce 1 iron chest, Zhao Yi will continue to build villages for the sake of the level 1 evolution stones within. Armies composed of Tier 0 professionals are mere cannon fodder. Only armies composed of Tier 1 professionals are the primary combat forces of each indigenous nation. Many people with 1-star combat talent are stuck at level 0 perfection for their entire lives, and even more level 0 professionals are used as cannon fodder. As a player lord who only recruits indigenous people, Zhao Yi has gone from earning a few hundred points a day to now earning over 1 million, yet he still feels insufficient. Recruiting a level 0 swordsman only requires 100 points, a level 1 swordsman 1000 points, a level 2 swordsman 10,000 points, a level 3 swordsman 100,000 points, and the yet-to-be-named level 4 swordsman must cost 1 million points each. Forget level 4 professionals, a level 3 mage alone costs at least 1 million points, and a level 3 priest a whopping 3 million points. Even with a normal daily income, it's impossible to recruit even a single level 3 priest. With insufficient points, recruiting from indigenous cities is out of the question. The best solution is to cultivate your own skills. With the same amount of points, you can recruit either a level 1 professional or 10 level 0 professionals. 10 level 0 professionals can quickly level up by slaying the undead. However, advancing to the next level is a huge hurdle, and those with 1-star talent are easily stuck there. Zhao Yi needed advancement stones, and the lower the level, the greater the demand. Before this territory advancement battle, there were over 2,000 perfected rank 0 professionals in the demi-plane, including over 400 archers. They all possessed 1-star talents, waiting for advancement stones to become rank 1 professionals. Reaching rank 1 on their own was impossible in a short period of time. Expanding a territory, building more satellite towns and villages, and obtaining more treasure chests and advancement stones would be crucial. Chapter 160 Public Opinion War. Night fell. Behind Haocheng's first line of defense, Zhao Yi, Melissa, and Joanna sat in an area. In 2 separate attacks, the 2-man 1-dragon combination effectively defeated the undead sky cavalry. The second attack even repelled the 3rd wave of undead, the strongest in the territory promotion war. Perhaps tonight, the 4th-tier lich would rally and lead an even larger and more powerful undead force than the 3rd wave. Joanna sat aside, ready to ride her dragon into battle with Zhao Yi. The newly expanded Sky Cavalry unit remained stationary, sending only 10 cavalrymen for reconnaissance. Zhao Yi dispatched 30 assassins to each of the 3 newly established 3rd-tier villages, Ding, Wu, and Ji. Each assassin carried an invisibility scroll. The 90 assassins were all 1st tier. Only if a 3rd-tier undead or a 2nd-tier ghoul appeared among the attacking undead could the 1st-tier assassins, using invisibility, be detected. Ghouls were rare in the undead camp, and the probability of encountering a 2nd-tier ghoul was less than 1%. Joanna practiced, Melissa played with the gems, and Zhao Yi browsed the forum. Tonight's forum was quite interesting. Many of the highly commented posts were about Cheng Jinling, some mocking him, some questioning him, and some expressing shame for not choosing to be promoted to 2nd-class earldom today. During the day, the forum was filled with posts encouraging Cheng Jinling to be promoted to 2nd-class earldom. The top boss was promoted to 2nd-class earldom with almost no losses. Cheng Jin's combat power is slightly lower than the top, but as the 2nd highest ranking, it can't be that much. Losing a few dozen, no more than 100, he'll definitely be promoted. Cheng Jin, and the Chen officials, what are you waiting for? Cheng Jin Chong, you're the face of our Chen nation. With the strength of your territory, you'll definitely be promoted. Cheng Jin, get promoted quickly. If you don't, the players behind you will catch up. If you can't catch up to the top, you'll have to hold on to 2nd place. Cheng Jin and the Chen officials simply ignored the various posts urging Cheng Jin's promotion. It was obvious that the anti-Chen alliance was using public opinion to force Cheng Jin's promotion. Looking at the gap between the top and second place on the territory combat power ranking, it was only slightly larger than the gap between the second and third. However, with experience in achieving a third-class earldom and resisting disasters, everyone knew that combat power and actual strength were not the same. Zhao Yi was able to be promoted to second-class earldom with minimal losses, and Cheng Jinling should be able to do the same now. However, based on the intelligence Zhao Yi provided, Cheng Jinling would likely suffer heavy losses against the same enemy. Today, Chen officials spent a significant amount of money to transfer first and second tier flying mounts from other subordinate territories to Cheng Jinling. As a result, Cheng Jinling's resources from these territories will be reduced by 1/3 over the next 10 days. Cheng Jinling plans to train his territory's air cavalry for several days until they meet the required standards before being promoted to second-class earldom. Finally, only a Chen official posted a message stating that Cheng Jinling was actively preparing for battle and would be promoted to second-class earldom upon completion. The anti-Chen alliance was naturally dissatisfied with this post. They wanted Cheng Jinling promoted immediately today. Even if he succeeded, he would suffer heavy losses, which would greatly undermine the morale of Chen players. Zhao Yi, the top-ranked leader, was simply ignored by the anti-Chen alliance. Since no information was released, everyone speculated that it was a Chen player, or perhaps another country, who is misleading others. Many Gaoxin players even believed that their country's player was the top-ranked player. During the day, numerous Chen players posted in support of Cheng Jinling on the forums. However, the sheer number of players urging him to be promoted meant that the posts were drowned out. Even a small number of Chen players were still posting, not because they were being bribed by foreign players, but simply because they were envious of other players' success and wished all the Lord players' territories would be destroyed. Chen's population was the highest among the nations on Blue Star, but it only accounted for 1/5 of the total population. Chen's allies were few and weak, and many of them also joined in the urging of Cheng Jinling's promotion. The situation remained unchanged throughout the day. By nightfall, Cheng Jinling had lost his last chance. Foreign posts turned to mocking him, with foreign players pretending to be Chen players questioning him and Chen officials. Chen officials simply posted a statement and nothing happened. Their plan was simple: with so few players, they couldn't sway public opinion. They would wait until Cheng Jinling was promoted to second-class earldom, while no other players' territories were promoted, and then use their battle record to directly slap them in the face. Seeing the situation on the forum, Zhao Yi was filled with emotion. The humans on Blue Star had shifted the battlefield of public opinion from Blue Star to the game world, truly non-stop. Time passed quickly as he scrolled through the forum. When a sky trooper returned, Zhao Yi immediately prepared for battle. The intelligence brought back by the sky trooper indicated that the undead army attacking tonight had returned to its usual size. No liches, no fourth-tier undead, no cavalry, only skeletons. About 1/10 of these were small beast-shaped skeletons. It would be another easy battle. Zhao Yi rode his silver dragon into battle, while Joanna returned to her post. As Zhao Yi rode his dragon into the battlefield, morale on the human side soared. He kept shooting arrows. Leveling up required more and more experience, and Zhao Yi worked hard to level up. At least for the first half of the battle, he would keep firing arrows. Melissa, in her dragon form, would also seek out areas where the undead were densely populated, breathing a few breaths of dragon's breath or unleashing offensive spells. Dragons are much larger than humans. Their mana is several times, sometimes even 10 times, greater than that of human mages of the same rank. Melissa could easily transform a single target attack into a group attack spell. Melissa, a master of both magic and martial arts, could also cast spells, but when battling the undead sky cavalry, Zhao Yi needed Joanna's assistance. In intense combat, Melissa didn't even have the chance to cast spells, preferring to strike with a claw or flicker tail. Now, against the ground troops, where the fighting was less intense, Melissa had a chance to cast spells. After over 40 minutes, the battle ended, leaving 3 Xiao Chang defenders dead, all level 0 warriors. 2 of them were newly recruited soldiers, both very young and seemingly inexperienced. The other officers were unable to rescue them, and their mistakes left them slain by the skeleton soldiers. Zhao Yi had no solution to this situation. Newcomers always had to fight on the battlefield. Without them, they would remain inexperienced and forever new. Death is inevitable. They died to defend the territory. The only thing Zhao Yi can do is to give the families of the fallen professionals sufficient compensation, a pension lasting 20 years, and moved to a more comfortable demi-plane. Chapter 161 The strong will always be strong. You won 28 battles, you destroyed 30,518 undead, you lost 8 soldiers, battle rating, XCE, points increased by 92.2%, professional experience increased by 92.2%, received 1 crystal chest, 3 gold chests, 24 bronze chests. Zhao Yi stared at the battle results page, lost in thought. Yesterday, 3 new level 3 villages, Ding, Wu, and Ji, were added to the territory, attracting 3 waves of undead. However, the assassins in the villages retreated before the undead reached the villages. No battles broke out, so the battle results page still showed 28 battles won. Of the 3 new town construction sites, only the Ding town site, later, encountered a problem, merging with the undead that were attacking a village. All villages in Zhao Yi's territory are level 1, with populations exceeding 1,200. Each village receives over 400 undead attacks every night. Even if the vast majority of these undead are level 0, with no more than 20 level 1 undead, 400 undead would still place a significant strain on the level 3 town garrisons. After all, a level 3 town's standard population is limited to 3,000, with a garrison of around 300. A normal nightly attack by the undead number over 1,000, and the combined force of the 2 undead forces could reach nearly 1,500. Furthermore, a level 3 village cannot be upgraded directly to a level 3 town, it must first be upgraded to a level 1 village. Based on Ding Village's current situation, it needs to reach a population of at least 1,200 today, double the garrison of other level 1 villages. This means stationing 2 companies of zero-tier professionals in Ding Village. 2 companies of 236 people, with 236 professional families comprising at least 1,000 people, clearly cannot relocate all these families to Ding Village. We must follow our previous plan and only send 2 companies of zero-tier professionals. The families of the professionals will not be relocated to Ding Village for the time being. All should be sent to the demi-plane first. Later, as Ding Village upgrades to Ding Town, depending on the situation, some of the professionals' families can be relocated back to Ding Town. This is up to the professionals themselves, they can choose to keep their families in the demi-plane or move to Ding Town. Zhao Yi will not force them. If a professional's family prefers living in the demi-plane, but Zhao Yi forces them to move out, their loyalty will decline. Zhao Yi won't force them for such trivial matters, voluntary participation is sufficient. Over 30,000 undead were slain in one night, earning Zhao Yi 2.34 million points. Excluding special cases like the territory promotion battle, daily points earned have steadily increased with the territory's population, from 1.5 million a dozen days ago to 2.34 million now. However, for a rapidly developing territory, 2.34 million points is still too little. The subsequent treasure chest opening session was as if Zhao Yi hadn't had much anticipation. The only crystal card in the crystal chest was trash, and the other cards were commonplace. The subsequent gold and bronze chests didn't yield anything that would cause Zhao Yi to react with any significant emotion. Returning to the Lord's residence, he had lunch, then proceeded to the city hall for a meeting. There were many matters to be discussed and decided in today's meeting. The construction plan for the 3 new towns, Ding, Wu, and Ji, continued. Today, they needed to upgrade the 3 villages to level 1, install teleportation arrays, relocate the population, build defenses, dig traps, and construct houses. The 3 villages have a lot of work to do, and Xiao Chang must dispatch earth mages to complete the necessary work before nightfall. For the 3 villages, building defenses and digging traps are paramount. Relying on these defenses and traps, the garrisons can eliminate all incoming undead with minimal effort. The construction of the 3 new towns is paramount, followed by the upgrading of towns A, B, and C before the territory's promotion to second-class earldom. The 3 second-class towns A, B, and C already boasted a population of over 6,000, and yesterday, each added another 1,000. Today, towns A, B, and C will be upgraded to the first level, relocating more people and garrisons. Each town will need to dispatch at least a platoon of second-class professionals. A total of 1 company of second-class professionals will need to be transferred from Xiaocheng, yet Xiaocheng only had a little over 700 second-class professionals on the day of the territory's promotion. To achieve the promotion, towns A, B, and C will cease population growth. With the promotion complete, It's natural to develop all three towns into first-class towns with a population of at least 12,000. To ensure the rapid absorption of new arrivals and to secure more daily plans, each territory's cities must increase their population as much as possible. Yesterday, Xiaocheng added 6,000 people. Not only were towns A, B, and C upgraded and their populations increased, but today each of these towns also established 3 affiliated villages, Village A6, Village B6, and Village C6, bringing the total number of villages in the territory to 27. Zhao Yi expects to receive 1 crystal treasure chest, 3 gold treasure chests, 3 silver treasure chests, and 26 bronze treasure chests tomorrow. Villages D, Wu, and G are affiliated towns, and their ratings should only decrease by 1 level. In a few days, they will be upgraded to towns, allowing them to receive 6 gold treasure chests per day. Before the first affiliated town was established, Zhao Yi received 1 platinum treasure chest and 9 silver treasure chests per day. With the establishment of towns A, B, and C, the silver treasure chests were downgraded to bronze, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Now that the 3 new towns are nearly complete, and with 6 gold treasure chests available daily, that discomfort has long since dissipated. Currently, the prevailing belief among lords on the forum is that the faster a territory is upgraded, the better. This is a perfectly valid view. A higher territory level means a larger area, a larger population, and more undead attracted. Daily points earned, along with more towns and villages, and more treasure chests are also available. Whether it's a player territory affiliated with a large or small faction or a single player's territory, points and treasure chests are the 2 most important ways to grow a territory. The stronger the territory, the more points it earns daily, the better and more treasure chests it receives. Territory growth continues unabated, leaving territories behind even if they try to catch up. For single-player lords, rapid territory growth, fueled by the power of Krypton gold, is only possible if a lucky player unearths valuable items from a treasure chest and dares to auction or sell them on the market, without the indigenous forces coming to the rescue. Zhao Yi also possesses a wealth of valuable items, but he dares not sell them. The reason is that the indigenous people remain the second most powerful force on the origin continent, second only to the undead faction. Even the united players of Blue Star are no match for a single indigenous kingdom. Furthermore, the Blue Star players scattered across the origin continent couldn't unite. Even the most frantic leveling players hadn't yet reached Tier 4. Numerous players posted on the forum daily, urging others to be cautious and not show off their wealth. As for how many players actually took these comments to heart, it was unknown. Chapter 162 Relics. Mid-morning, a sky trooper returned to report to Zhao Yi that the Earth Mage Yelavi had discovered a ruin while searching for minerals. Yelavi, not yet at the 2nd level and weak, was hesitant to act rashly with the ruins he had found. He immediately sent the sky trooper back to report to the Lord. Ruins. Zhao Yi was intrigued by Yelavi's discovery. Blue Star players had only been on the origin continent for 50 days, and thousands had already discovered ruins. Any building left behind by previous generations was considered a ruin, and in the eyes of professionals, a ruin must possess some extraordinary power. Some ruins still held valuable treasures awaiting newcomers, while others were simply abandoned, all valuable items removed. Even more daunting were the dangers of still functioning defensive arrays that would attack anyone who entered. A fortunate player posted on the forums that he had discovered a ruin and obtained the inheritance of a 7th level fire mage. While he didn't gain much in terms of wealth, he did gain a wealth of skills and books. Some players have also discovered multiple puppets with depleted energy in the ruins. After being equipped with magic crystals, the puppets automatically recognize their masters. It is even more common to find weapons and equipment in ruins. However, due to the age of the ruins, the original highest crystal-grade equipment has been downgraded to platinum or even gold. The most important feature is that ruins are usually related to mages, either mages participated in their construction, or the mages themselves left behind them. Don't underestimate any mid or high-level mage, and don't underestimate any ruins left behind by mid or high-level mages. Zhao Yi accidentally discovered a ruin in his territory. It was still early today and he had nothing important to do, so he planned to explore to see if he could get something good out of the ruins. It would definitely be a surprise if he found something that was extremely valuable to him in his territory. However, exploring ruins can be dangerous, so Zhao Yi needed to form an exploration team. There were 3 members: Johanna, a 3rd level wind mage, Ignaz, a 3rd level space mage, Patrick, a 3rd level nature mage, a 3rd level fire mage, 3 2nd level earth mages, 5 3rd level archers, 5 3rd level shield warriors, 5 3rd level spearmen, 2 3rd level assassins, and 2 3rd level priests. Unfortunately, the territory currently lacked a 3rd level earth mage, so they had to use 2nd level earth mages instead. They couldn't deploy too many, as the earth mages had a heavy workload. In addition to the exploration team, Zhao Yi also mobilized 20 air cavalry to patrol the ruins. The men received orders from the Lord to explore a newly discovered ruin. After a brief preparation, they were to meet at the south gate of Zhaochang in half an hour. The carriages were already ready. After boarding the carriages, guided by the air cavalry, the convoy traveled along the road for over half an hour before entering the wilderness, winding left and right, and finally stopping at a stone wall. Yalavi's prospecting team had been stationed there, awaiting the Lord's arrival. "My lord, the ruins I discovered are behind this stone wall. There should be an entrance or exit here, but it's been sealed." Zhao Yi surveyed the stone wall, unable to discern the original entrance or exit. "You will investigate. If you can't figure it out, abandon this ruin for now and return to explore again when your strength improves," Zhao Yi instructed the mages on the exploration team. Safety first, Zhao Yi didn't want to risk the deaths of his men by exploring such a dangerous ruin. Every Tier 3 professional was a vital force in the territory. Yes, the mages stepped forward to study the stone wall, with Ignaz and the earth mages as the primary investigators. As a space mage, Ignaz could sense the ruins behind the stone wall. If necessary, he could use space magic to enter the ruins without destroying anything. Earth mages could also conduct preliminary exploration of anything related to soil and stone. This ruin had originally been discovered by the first-tier earth mage, Yalavi. Joanna didn't approach to investigate, she was there as a combat force, not a researcher. Ignaz's research concluded in just over 10 minutes. After conferring with other earth mages, he calmly approached Zhao Yi and reported, "My lord, this ruin can't be more than 300 years old. It was likely a mage's laboratory, conducting warcraft-related experiments. I believe this mage's rank couldn't have been higher than level 4. The passage of time has weakened the ruin's defenses, and even a level 2 class could have opened it and explored it." Zhao Yi was somewhat disappointed after hearing Ignaz's report. He had finally discovered a ruin, but it didn't look valuable. Regardless, he decided to open it and take a look. The level 3 class mages violently broke down the stone wall that served as the entrance to the ruins, revealing the stone steps within. A group of 6, including a shield warrior, a spearman, an earth mage, and a fire mage, entered first. There was another large door inside, which had to be opened to enter the true ruins. This door was crafted from cheap magical materials, indicating that the former owner of the ruins was not wealthy and of a low rank. Mages who reach the 4th tier can join a faction by building a mage tower. Mages typically keep their laboratories within their towers. Mages who establish laboratories in the wild are often disliked by others, or those who haven't joined a faction and lack significant wealth. 3rd tier professionals easily dismantled the gate to the ruins and entered the actual ruins. The ruins are relatively small, covering only a little over 300 square meters. They are simply divided into functional areas such as bedrooms, a study, and a laboratory, with the laboratory occupying approximately half of the total area. Within the laboratory, numerous magical beast bones remain. If the ruins' concealment array weren't still in operation, these bones would have formed new skeletons from liches. The original concealment array was at least level 3. Over time, the array's lack of maintenance diminished its effectiveness, and while still functioning, it was eventually discovered by the meticulous prospector, Yalavi. Normally, even a passing 3rd-tier mage would hardly notice a ruin hidden within the stone walls. After confirming the ruins were clear of danger, Zhao Yi entered, surveying the interior and searching for valuable items. After searching extensively, he found only some books and experimental records in the ruins study room that held some value. Ignaz flipped through the books and confirmed that the ruins owner was a Tier 3 water mage named Anato. Anato's water mage talent was only 2-star. After finally reaching Tier 3 status, his talent was no longer sufficient to sustain his progress. He eventually turned his attention to the Warcraft bloodline, aiming to become a warlock. However, the success rates of external methods for becoming a warlock were too low, so Anato pursued his own research for decades without success. Nearing the end of his life, Anato decided to return to his hometown to spend his remaining years in peace, hoping to cultivate any of his descendants with magical talent. He left these books and experimental records with the intention of providing some assistance to future generations. As expected, Anato had died 200 years ago. Well, this ruin was likely worthless to Zhao Yi, and his excitement was in vain. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, Besiege Way to Save Zhao. Zhao Yi had wasted almost 2 hours exploring a worthless ruin. Just after lunch, something new was happening. It wasn't a problem within Zhao Yi's territory, but a request for assistance from another territory. The territory seeking aid was none other than Kyoto, a territory Zhao Yi had previously encountered. Kyoto had dispatched a cavalry squad with a letter. Zhao Yi opened it and discovered it was a request for assistance. My name is Kyoto, and I'm the lord of your territory to the north. I'm under siege by foreign player lords. If you are a player from Chen, please send troops to help us resist the foreign players. The letter was brief, but those few words made Zhao Yi realize Kyoto's situation was dire. They had even sought help from him, someone they had only met once and couldn't confirm was a fellow Chen player. It felt like they were desperately seeking help. Zhao Yi pondered the letter, remembering that it must have been about 10 days ago when a cavalry squad from Kyoto had come to his territory, seeking to establish diplomatic relations, but had been rebuffed by his own patrol. Kyoto likely sent more than one cavalry unit to establish diplomatic ties with other player territories. Just over 10 days later, he was already facing sieges from foreign player lords. Zhao Yi speculated that this widespread diplomatic activity was the cause. The foreign posts indicated that Chen players were increasingly hostile to foreign players. As a nation, Chen players were the most powerful. As individual factions, the official Chen state was the strongest, and as territories, Chen player territories ranked first and second. The dominance of Chen players further strengthened the anti-Chen alliance led by the official Eli Kingdom. Kyoto dared to establish diplomatic relations at this time, exposing the situation within his territory and thus attracting sieges from foreign players. As lords of the Violet Kingdom, sieges were likely a common tactic used by player lords to gain leverage. From the reference to we in the letter, Zhao Yi suspected Kyoto had already established diplomatic relations with other Chen players, perhaps even forming alliances. Still facing sieges from foreign player lords, it seemed many foreign player lords were drawn to Kyoto's territory. Zhao Yi carefully considered whether to aid Kyoto or not. As a neighbor, Kyoto's territory would hinder Zhao Yi's future expansion, so he could choose not to help Kyoto. However, they were all Chen players, and when their compatriots were under siege by foreign players, they should lend a hand if they could. Zhao Yi was clearly a very capable person, and even a small gesture could help Kyoto. Thinking about this, Zhao Yi came up with an idea. He could help Kyoto. After the rescue was complete, he could offer Kyoto a small suggestion: relocate his territory further away. A wise person would surely accept this suggestion. If not, he would be treated as a competitor. Zhao Yi hoped Kyoto was a smart person, as enemies were everywhere, and for the time being, Zhao Yi didn't want Chen players to fight among themselves. Kyoto's letter had a number on it, allowing him to add him as a friend directly using that number. Zhao Yi didn't want that, so he simply wrote a letter and had two Tier 2 air cavalry deliver it to Kyoto's territory. Kyoto's territory was located on the map, and since it wasn't an earldom, its limited territory made it easy to find its main city and deliver the letter to him. At the speed of a second-tier air cavalry, they arrived above Kyoto's main city in just an hour. Kyoto, already troubled by the manipulation of foreign players, was shocked to learn that air cavalry from an unknown force had appeared in the sky. Whose air cavalry? It must not be from foreign players. Zhao Yi's air cavalry attached a letter to an ordinary arrow and shot it into the city, where it was quickly delivered to Kyoto. Opening the letter, Kyoto realized that the air cavalry in the sky belonged to the player lord he had requested aid, whose nationality he had yet to confirm. It was now virtually certain that the lord of the southern player territory was also a player from Chen. However, the content of Zhao Yi's letter left Kyoto a little confused. Instead of sending reinforcements directly to his main city, Zhao Yi asked for the locations of all foreign player territories, preferably the main city. Besieged way to save Zhao. Cao Da thought he understood Zhao Yi's intentions, and regardless of why Zhao Yi didn't just add him as a friend, he wrote another letter, along with a simple map showing foreign player territories and main cities, and ordered his soldiers to deliver the letter outside the city. After receiving Cao Da's letter, the two air cavalrymen departed. Cao Da watched the air cavalrymen depart, filled with envy. Those were air cavalrymen. Among the millions of player lords, perhaps fewer than 10,000 possessed air cavalrymen. Of course, possessing air cavalrymen didn't guarantee territory power. Some lords of relatively weaker player territories found flying mounts and treasure chests. It was all a matter of luck. In Cao Da's mind, even with the appearance of air cavalrymen in Zhao Yi's territory, it was still the same as it had been a dozen days before. Newly promoted to third-class viscount, its main city filled with tents and few houses. No matter how weak Zhao Yi's territory was, the fact that this compatriot was willing to send troops to help relieve the pressure on himself and his allies was a good thing. To this day, Cao Da deeply regretted his actions after being promoted to first-class viscount. While seeking to establish diplomatic ties with other player territories was a sound strategy, they overlooked the increasingly fierce competition between Chen players and foreign players. Their own territory was indeed the most powerful player territory in the region, having successfully established diplomatic ties with 3 Chen player territories and even forming an alliance despite being besieged by foreign player lords. However, the number of foreign player lords in the region was several times greater than that of the Chen player lords. It was unknown which foreign player lord was behind the conspiracy, but at least 2/3 of the foreign player lords had united to attack the Chen player territories. At night, assassins from the foreign player territories gathered together and secretly lurked near the main cities of the Chen player territories to attract more undead attacks. One Chen player territory, a mere first-class baron, had already been destroyed, though the lord had fortunately escaped via a teleportation array to the indigenous city. Cao Da's own territory's main city had also been repeatedly attacked by foreign player lords, resulting in heavy casualties among the territory's troops. If this situation continued, the territory would be destroyed. Stopping the enemy was incredibly difficult. All it took was knowing the direction of the incoming undead from the main city, and for the assassin to hide far away on the other side. Finding the assassin took time, and displacing a large number of personnel to expel or kill him was a significant undertaking, leaving room for mishaps. The situation grew increasingly dire, and Cao Da, remembering the secluded territory suspected to be occupied by players from the Chen Kingdom, attempted to summon assistance. Any willingness to intervene, whether through direct reinforcements or a strategy of encircling way to save Zhao, would alleviate the pressure on his side and allow him to breathe a little longer. Perhaps opening a few more treasure chests would yield a definitive solution to the crisis. Chapter 164 Taking Action. The air cavalry went quickly, and returned even faster. Zhao Yi briefly glanced at Cao Da's reply, then fixed his gaze on the simple map. The map showed over 20 territories, stretching north from Zhao Yi's territory. It could also be considered a map of the player territories surrounding Cao Da's territory. Zhao Yi's territory was narrow and long on this map, blocking Cao Da's path southward. Cao Da's territory and 3 other player territories were all shaded in red, indicating they were Chen player territories. However, one of these Chen player territories had already been destroyed. 11 foreign player territories were marked in blue. The strongest were 2 second-class viscounts, followed by 3 third-class viscounts, 5 first-class baronies, and 1 second-class baron. The locations of the main cities of all the foreign player territories were marked, along with undead attack routes. It seemed Cao Da wasn't entirely on the defensive these days, but was also considering shifting from defense to offense. However, Cao Da only had 4 player territories, while the enemy had 11, a nearly 3-to-1 difference. The Kyoto territory, a first-class viscount and the most powerful, faced a difficult situation, but its 3 allies were weak, one already destroyed. Zhao Yi, suspected to be a Chen player, was forced to seek assistance. Deciding to enlist a Chen player's help, Zhao Yi immediately summoned Elliot, Lori, and Braden to discuss deploying the territory's troops. The borrowed knife tactic was only suitable for assassins. Over 300 assassins, including 6 third-tier assassins, could be deployed from Zhao City and the Demi-Plane. The assassin ratio in Zhao Yi's army remained largely unchanged, with each company equipped with 6 assassins. The assassins' primary mission was to scout for military intelligence, particularly the movements of the nightly undead hordes. However, Zhao City had air cavalry, and these scouting tasks were already being handled by them, leaving the assassins with little use. The assassins also needed to level up, so they were forced to accompany the warriors in the second half of each night's battle. The assassins couldn't fight the undead with daggers or hidden blades. Instead, they used hand crossbows to annihilate them. Assassins equipped with storage rings were even equipped with archer crossbows for even longer range. After deliberation, Zhao Yi decided to send out 300 assassins at once, all 3rd, 2nd, and 1st-tier assassins, to target Madra, the closest of the 2 second-class viscounties. 300 assassins was a small number, adding only 100 undead to the enemy's main city. While the number was small, the added undead were formidable. With 6 third-tier assassins, the undead would undoubtedly have increased by 3 or 4. For Zhao Yi, already a second-class earldom, killing third-tier undead was as easy as eating and drinking water. With the enemy being a second-class viscount, each additional third-tier undead in the incoming undead army would significantly increase the enemy's pressure. 3 or 4 third-tier undead would suddenly add to over 10 second-tier undead, along with dozens of first-tier undead. Not only would they destroy the enemy's main city, but they could also inflict heavy damage on its defenders. If it were a third-class viscount's territory, with just 300 assassins, the enemy wouldn't be able to hold out until tomorrow. The Baron only needed to send half that number. With a plan finalized, Elliot and Lowry immediately set out to gather the assassins from Xiaocheng and the Demi-Plane. Once the assassins were assembled, carriages were dispatched to the border areas. They would then move in batches, infiltrating Madra's territory from various directions and converging on the main city. The 2 territories do not border each other. The assassins under the command of the foreign players who had recently besieged Kyoto and its allies had been largely dispatched. After dark, they would enter the vicinity of Madra's main city, making them virtually undetectable. At nightfall, in the second-class Viscount city, Madra monitored the movements of the combined assassins until the undead arrived tonight. The United Assassins are composed of assassins from 11 player territories, 2/3 of whom are players, and 1/3 are indigenous, totaling over 260. While the United Assassins are numerous, their quality is lacking, consisting of only a few Tier 2 assassins, a dozen or so Tier 1 assassins, and the remainder Tier 0 assassins. The United Assassins have attacked Kyoto's main city several times, but the undead army has still not broken through. I hope the undead army can conquer that Chen player's main city today. Madra's main city was attacked by the undead army before Kyoto's. When the few assassins returned with information about the undead army, Madra was stunned. How is this possible? Why has the undead army increased so much in strength? Did that Chen player do something to me? Madra couldn't believe it. With his own territory on the verge of collapse, how could he possibly launch an offensive? Could it be that a new Chen player had entered the fray? Madra paused to ponder the issue. The undead army was about to enter the battlefield, and the most important task now was to destroy it. He deployed every possible means, purchasing items from the point store as soon as he earned points. Even so, the Lich commanding the undead army escaped, and the defenders of Madra's main city suffered over 300 casualties, half of them wounded. Considering the pre-battle garrison of 1,000 men, the main city had a significant presence. Territories that recruited only players had a high percentage of combat class players, but most Blue Star players were still inferior to their native counterparts. With over 300 casualties, Madra's territory had been severely damaged. If it couldn't quickly recover, even in normal circumstances, it was highly likely to be destroyed. Crucially, he had very few points left. With so many casualties, the battle's evaluation would be very poor tomorrow morning. A silver treasure chest would be a good thing, but the bonus points wouldn't be much. Looking at the dead and wounded combat class players, Madra was at a loss as to what to do. No, I still have allies I can ask for help. Zhao Yi led 300 assassins, arriving and departing quietly. No one knew it was the intervention of the player ranked number 1 on the territory power ranking. Meanwhile, Cao Dao's main city struggled once again to hold off the undead, leaving only the Lich and a few guards to escape. Cao Dao breathed a sigh of relief, wondering if Zhao Yi had intervened. If things continued like this, the city wouldn't hold out until dawn the next day. Even if Zhao Yi hadn't intervened, Xiao Da wouldn't harbor much resentment. The two sides hadn't had much connection before, not allies, only a possible shared nationality. If Zhao Yi had intervened and successfully relieved the pressure on his territory, allowing it to survive, Xiao Da would have offered him a platinum item as a thank you. However, Xiao Da was now completely depleted of platinum equipment, having sold everything he could to focus on strengthening his territory, simply to hold out against the siege of the foreign player lords. Chapter 165, Destiny Dice. You won 33 battles, you destroyed 35,962 undead, you lost 9 soldiers, battle rating, XP, points increased by 104.8%, professional experience increased by 104.8%, received 1 crystal treasure chest, 3 gold treasure chests, 3 silver treasure chests, and 26 bronze treasure chests. Zhao Yi looked at the battle results page. Just as he'd analyzed yesterday, the points and combat profession bonuses had already exceeded 100. With the 3 villages Ding, Wu, and Ji becoming towns in the coming days, their populations exceeding 3,000, the bonuses would increase even more. With the addition of 3 silver treasure chests, Zhao Yi was slightly more excited about today's treasure chest opening. The more treasure chests, the better, but of course, the quality couldn't be compromised. He opened the crystal treasure chest and carefully examined the cards. When he found the only crystal card inside, his eyes widened. Good stuff, Destiny Dice, a divine creation, a one-time item with 6 sides marked with X2, X4, X8, %2, %4, and %8. This means that when rolling the Destiny Dice, your luck value increases or decreases according to the symbol on the upward side, and the resulting luck value remains constant for 1 hour. According to Zhao Yi, a person's luck value fluctuates constantly, ranging from positive to negative. Positive values indicate good fortune, while negative values indicate bad luck. Ideally, rolling X8 would indicate a positive luck value, meaning extremely lucky. A negative luck value would indicate extreme bad luck. If you roll %8 while your luck value is negative, your bad luck will be greatly reduced. When players receive the Destiny Dice, their first thought is to use it to open treasure chests, and Zhao Yi is no exception. A higher luck value means more goodies in the treasure chest, and it also makes it easier for players to draw goodies from the chest. Zhao Yi doesn't need the latter. As long as there are goodies in the treasure chest, he can take them all. The Destiny Dice is powerful, but the key lies in how to maximize its use. It's best to be extremely lucky when rolling the Destiny Dice, then roll on the 3 sides that increase luck. Before doing so, accumulate a number of treasure chests and, with a high luck value, open them all. Luck is a hidden attribute. It's said that there's a special profession on the origin continent that can tell whether a person is lucky or unlucky at the moment. Zhao Yi can't find such a person, and even if he could, he wouldn't dare approach them for now. However, there are ways to test your current luck. For example, open a small treasure chest. If it contains goodies, your luck is positive. If it doesn't, your luck is low or even negative. Zhao Yi won't be able to use such a powerful treasure for a while, so he'll have to start accumulating treasure chests. Crystal treasure chests can't be hoarded. Points and treasure chests support the rapid development of the territory, and the most important crystal treasure chests must be opened. Of the gold, silver, and bronze treasure chests below, reserve 1/3 each day. Today, leave 1 gold chest, 1 silver chest, and 8 bronze chests unopened. Wait until you have enough treasure chests, and then obtain a diamond chest or even a higher level treasure chest, then use the Destiny Dice. Rolling a single fate die was enough to cheer Zhao Yi up. The remaining treasure chests yielded relatively ordinary items, which didn't dampen his spirits. After all, most treasure chests yielded relatively ordinary items. Of course, this ordinary only applied to Zhao Yi. To other players, Zhao Yi was always at the top level of the Lucky King level. What Zhao Yi considered ordinary was considered excellent by other lords. Even the Lucky King couldn't draw exceptional items every day, making every card valuable. But Zhao Yi could, and he could obtain higher level treasure chests than other Lucky King players. With the recruitment completed, Zhao Yi turned his attention to supporting Xiao Da and other Chen players. Last night, he had dispatched 300 assassins to attack Madra. While it was a pity the undead army didn't completely destroy Madra's Lord City, the heavy losses in Madra effectively alleviated the pressure on Xiao Da and other Chen players. Zhao Yi picked up pen and paper and wrote a letter to Xiao Da, informing him of the heavy damage to a foreign player's territory and urging him to hold on. The letter's contents were somewhat vague, primarily because Zhao Yi worried that if Cao Da hadn't destroyed it, it might be used as evidence. He had to be on guard, as long as Cao Da could understand its contents. After writing the letter, 2 air cavalrymen dispatched to deliver it to Cao Da. Cao Da was already swamped with worry, his territory suffering heavy losses. Although he had opened a treasure chest this morning to boost his territory's strength, the army had already suffered so many casualties. If the enemy attacked again, the territory would be destroyed tonight. Cao Da had long considered moving, but the territory page indicated that relocation was prohibited. This was due to the rules of the game world. For example, if a territory was attacked by an undead horde and could not withstand the undead, relocation would be possible to prevent its destruction. Therefore, there were rules that restricted relocation, and at least, Cao Da's territory didn't allow it at any time. Upon learning that the air cavalryman had arrived again, Cao Da hurried out of the house. Another soldier strode over and handed him Zhao Yi's letter. Cao Da opened the letter and couldn't help but feel the pressure ease a bit. His compatriots had already taken action, and the first one targeted Madra, the only second-class viscount among the many foreign player territories, and had severely damaged Madra. Cao Da was a little skeptical that a third-class viscount could severely inflict a second-class viscount, but the letter stated so he wouldn't lie to himself at this point. Perhaps there was some exaggeration, but if Zhao Yi intervened and inflicted casualties on Madra, it would alleviate Cao Da's pressure and give the territory some confidence to hold out until tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Lord of Madra, severely damaged by Zhao Yi's attack, was constantly contacting his allies for assistance. However, despite Madra's pleas for help, none of the allies were willing to come to his aid. According to Madra, the powerful Madra had been severely damaged. If they attacked again, Yingsa, another second-class viscount, would also be severely damaged, and the lower third-class viscounts and baronies would even be completely destroyed. With that in mind, no territory would even consider supporting Madra. Their priority was protecting their own territories. They had only united to fight against the player lords of Chen. Alliances were fragile, and it was impossible for them to abandon their own territories just to save their allies. Madra was practically mad at the allies' refusal. If his territory was destroyed, theirs wouldn't escape either. They didn't understand this. Chapter 166 Elite Education. Madra was barely a solo player lord. On Blue Star, he partnered with a few friends to run a company. He became a lord on the Blue Star origin continent, bringing his friends and employees with him. With only one territory, he couldn't be considered a player faction, just a solo player lord. For a solo player lord, raising his territory to the rank of a second-class viscount was a significant feat. Several player factions sought Madra's services, but he declined, unwilling to be blindly commanded by others. He envisioned carving out his own territory on the origin continent. While wishes were beautiful, reality proved harsh. Everything was going well, even allowing him to join forces with other foreign player lords to siege the Chen Kingdom player lord. Unexpectedly, he was severely defeated overnight. To keep his territory afloat, Madra tried every possible means. Faced with rebuffs from his allies, he was forced to contact the player factions that had contacted him before. These small and medium-sized player factions were delighted to see Madra approach them, believing that accepting a second-class viscountship would significantly boost their own strength. However, when Madra evasively expressed his need for help, the small and medium-sized player factions suddenly changed their attitude. They understood why Madra, who had previously refused so bluntly, was now willing to join them. It turned out that he had encountered difficulties. Most player factions simply gave up on Madra. Only a few small player factions replied, saying they would contact him again after Madra's territory had overcome the crisis. Faced with such rejection, Madra was furious and wanted to kill. Now without outsiders to rely on, he could only rely on himself. He hoped that the undead that attacked tonight would return to normal so that his territory could survive. Don't come to my territory. Go find Yingsa. Go find Yingsa quickly, Madra prayed silently. In the Zhaocheng Lord's residence, Zhao Yi was also hesitant. He could still send 300 assassins today, but where to send them was a problem. If they were sent to Madra's territory, Madra, already severely damaged, would surely be destroyed tonight. Zhao Yi then thought of Kyoto territory. If the remaining foreign player lords continue to attack Kyoto territory might not last more than 2 days. If assassins were sent to Yingsa territory, these foreign players might attack Kyoto territory tonight, but they certainly wouldn't tomorrow. With the 2 strongest second-class viscounts severely damaged, without a leader, it would be difficult for the other foreign player lords to continue attacking Kyoto territory. After much deliberation, Zhao Yi decided to lend a hand to Kyoto. It all depended on Kyoto's luck and strength. As long as he could hold out tonight, Kyoto territory's crisis could be temporarily averted. Zhao Yi territory was still very busy today. Although no new villages had been built or upgraded to towns, there were few idle earth mages in the territory. They were either working or restoring mana. Over 1,200 people flooded into the 3 first-level villages of Ling, Wu, and Ji yesterday. With such a large population, it would take time for all 3 villages to maintain stability. Officials hired civilians to work outside the villages, collaborating with the earth mages to build defenses and dig traps in preparation for the village's upgrades to 3rd-level towns. Compared to defenses and traps, building houses in the villages could be built at a slower pace. There are no professional families in the village. The professionals all live in the barracks, which currently consist of numerous tents. The professionals have no complaints about living in tents. Even in Xiaocheng, they take turns sleeping in the tents each night. They prioritize their families' homes. The populations of the 3 first-level towns, A, B, and C, continue to grow today, albeit modestly, with each adding just over 1,500 people. Tomorrow, they will add another 2,500, bringing each to a standard capacity of 12,000. Even with the population of each town increasing to 12,000, the daily gold chests still contain only 2 gold cards. This number remains constant, as long as the number of attacking undead increases. Zhao Yi needs treasure chests, points, and soldier level upgrades. As the number of affiliated villages grows, the undead attacking them merge with other undead, ultimately being blocked by a particular town. This prevents combat on the village battlefield and prevents the acquisition of treasure chests. Therefore, affiliated villages must still be established. After all, towns are limited in size, and their populations can't be increased indefinitely. Professional families can relocate to the demi-plane, allowing for continued expansion of professional personnel. Agriculture, animal husbandry, and fisheries haven't officially begun in the demi-plane yet. Despite a lack of earth mages, the civilians of the 5 towns are fully committed to building their new homes. This time is sufficient for the development of agriculture, animal husbandry, and fisheries. Even with a total population approaching 140,000, the territory still has enough food stored to feed everyone for 6 months. In the indigenous cities, civilians work like slaves to barely earn enough to feed their families. Indigenous forces like the Hill Chamber of Commerce, food is a given. Even if there were no shortage of food, the indigenous forces wouldn't give it away to the civilians. The professional class's exploitation of the civilian population has never ceased. On the contrary, the Hill Chamber of Commerce has been very generous in its dealings with the Zhao Yi territory. Whenever the Zhao Yi territory purchases large quantities of military supplies, the Hill Chamber of Commerce provides them with generous gifts of food and other daily necessities. After all, these daily necessities are worth less than 1% of the military supplies. As long as they can retain Zhao Yi, a key customer, sending more is no problem. A 6-month food reserve is considered ample for Zhao Yi's territory. With the presence of a nature mage, the growing time of crops is greatly shortened. Only when the food reserve drops below 3 months and no longer able to be obtained from the outside world will Zhao Yi begin to focus on it. The territory will fully develop agriculture within the demi-plane, and within 1.5 to 2 months, the territory will be self-sufficient in its food needs. The territory's current situation doesn't require a hasty agricultural development. Agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, town construction, and village construction are all part of demi-plane development, and any priority can be achieved. These things all need to be addressed. However, with the increasing influx of professionals' families into the demi-plane, the ratio of professional to civilian families needs to be maintained. At the very least, a 1-to-1 ratio should be achieved, and ideally, civilian families should outnumber professional families. Education for minors in the territory is progressing normally. As villages are completed and their populations stabilize, the earliest schools built in a village are often put into use. Teachers and officials first identified minors of school age in the village, then families registered one by one, and finally, school officially began. The primary school curriculum was simple, and commoners didn't care. As long as their children could read and write, they were satisfied. Low-income families of low-ranking professionals and those of low-ranking officials had few objections. Only high-income families in the territories had some concerns. They could afford an elite education for their children, but the territories lacked such resources. Wherever the territories lacked, they increased it. Elite schools were already being established, but their children's attendance was no longer free and was separated from the free basic education. Chapter 167 Starting over again. At nightfall, in the territory of 2nd Viscount Yingzi, on the other side of the undead's attack on the main city, Zhao Yi's 300 assassins lay lurking, silently waiting for the undead army to attack Yingzi's main city, allowing them to retreat. The aftermath of Madra's attack the previous night had Yingzi deeply concerned. He wasn't sure if Madra's words were exaggerated, but he knew Madra had undoubtedly suffered heavy losses. Both territories were 2nd Viscounts, but Yingzi was weaker than Madra. If the enemy attacked Yingzi, even with all the preparations, they would be in jeopardy. As dusk fell in the afternoon, Yingzi dispatched several teams to patrol the area around the main city, fearing the enemy might approach. To date, none of the teams had returned, at least not before the undead army arrived. They absolutely had to prevent the enemy from approaching the city. Within the foreign player Lord Alliance, the lords of other weaker territories than Madra and Yingzi were even more apprehensive, fearing they would become targets and preparing every possible means. As for the already severely damaged lords of Kyoto and Madra, both prayed silently, hoping no one would attack their territories tonight. As time passed, the undead hordes emerged from the cemeteries one after another. As the undead approached, assassins scouting the area reported their intelligence to the lords. Upon learning of the incoming undead horde, Kyoto and Madra breathed a sigh of relief, believing no enemy had attacked their territories tonight. Only Yingzi's face darkened after receiving the intelligence of the undead army. The enemy had attacked his territory. For a strong and well-established territories, using a borrow knife to kill someone is simply a boon for points and experience, but for less powerful territories, it could easily lead to severe damage. Clearly, Madra and Yingzi were of average strength, with Kyoto slightly stronger. Under the command of the Lich, over 2,200 undead charged Yingzi's castle, led by several third-tier undead and dozens of second-tier undead. Yingzi hurriedly commanded his territory's troops to attack the advancing Tier 3 and Tier 2 undead. As a fierce battle erupted in Yingzi's main city, Zhao Yiling's assassins retreated silently. The battle lasted nearly an hour before the human side emerged victorious. However, Yingzi failed to annihilate all the undead. The Lich and its guards escaped. Few player territories could kill the Lich. The Lich's arrival and departure was the most common occurrence. Furthermore, under the Lich's command, the undead army could unleash its full potential. Yingzi's victory was accompanied by heavy losses. Yingzi's strength was slightly weaker than Madra's, and Yingzi had been well prepared. Still, the territory's troops suffered nearly 300 casualties, with nearly half of those who survived suffering injuries. Looking at the corpses and wounded, Yingzi felt a mixture of grief and relief. The loss of so many soldiers was a heavy blow to the territory. Even if the enemy stopped attacking, it was unclear whether the territory could hold out until the day after tomorrow. He was thankful he hadn't sent reinforcements to Madra. Had he, his territory might have truly been annihilated by the undead horde. Insa sent Madra a message, informing him of Insa's fate tonight and urging everyone to reunite and fight the culprit. Madra, having ended the battle earlier, saw Insa's message and smiled helplessly. His territory had triumphed over the undead tonight, but at the cost of nearly 100 casualties, its strength was steadily declining. If relocating his territory was possible, Madra would have chosen it immediately. Now, Madra only hoped to find valuable items in the treasure chest to quickly restore his territory's strength and pray that the enemy wouldn't attack his territory again. Madra planned to send the families of the fallen combat professionals to the affiliated villages tomorrow morning and transfer those from the affiliated villages back to the main city. This was his last-ditch effort. If that didn't work out, he would try to collect as many points as possible the following night and then flee to the indigenous city with all his treasure. Alliance was impossible. The enemy was incredibly powerful. Their 11 territories had only assembled over 260 assassins. If the enemy had only sent assassins, The force attacking their territory would likely exceed 300, including several third-tier assassins. Such an assassin force was beyond the reach of ordinary player territories. Madras suspected that a count ship under the Chen Kingdom's official power had been instrumental in the operation. Madras didn't suspect the enemy was using other means to attract more undead, but the simplest method was to send assassins. Items like those that could release large amounts of life energy were extremely expensive in the market or the points mall, so even those who could afford them wouldn't buy them. Money and points must be used to develop their territory. Facing this unknown and formidable enemy, abandoning their territory was the best option. Madras regretted attacking the Chen Kingdom players earlier. If he had developed his territory diligently, he would have achieved the status of countship and gained greater benefits from the game world. Abandoning his territory would have prevented him from reaping the benefits so quickly. Given the choice, Madras truly refused to give up his territory. Madras didn't tell Yingsa about his choice, and even hoped the enemy would continue to attack Yingsa. Another difficult battle unfolded in Kyoto's main city. Kyoto was filled with emotion. He had finally persevered, fortunately having not encountered more undead tonight. If tomorrow's treasure chests continued to yield valuable items to strengthen his territory, and if no enemy attacked his territory tomorrow night, he would be able to see the sunrise the day after tomorrow from his territory. The enemy hadn't attacked tonight, and Kyoto suspected it was due to the actions of his still unknown compatriot. He wondered if they had attacked tonight. It would be best if he did, attacking Yingsa as well, to deter Yingsa and Madras from any rash actions, thus buying time for his territory to recover. Kyoto was consumed by the desire for revenge, but without sufficient strength, he had to focus on development. Tonight, the territory suffered numerous casualties in its fight against the undead, leaving him feeling frustrated. The number of professional casualties in recent days of fighting had increased, and the families of the remaining dead had become a huge burden on the main city. This was the result of Cao sending some of his men to the affiliated villages, which resulted in the destruction of one of them. Because of these events, the loyalty and morale of the people in the territory plummeted. A new plan gradually emerged in Cao's mind. If the territory could be relocated, he would not hesitate to abandon it, taking his points and other valuables with him to establish a new territory in another place. He would have to start all over again in the new territory, but it would be better than the current one. Perhaps he could make the new territory reach the peak strength of the previous one in a shorter time. In the middle of the night, the 300 assassins returned to Zhaocheng. Zhao Yi rested only after listening to the assassin's report. Before resting, Zhao Yi thought about destroying Yingsa territory and Madras territory as soon as possible. Chapter 168, Those who are good at water will drown in water. You won 33 battles, you destroyed 39,547 undead, you lost 9 soldiers. Battle rating, XP, points increased by 104.8%, professional experience increased by 104.8%, received 1 crystal chest, 3 gold chests, 3 silver chests, and 26 bronze chests. Nearly 40,000 undead were slain overnight, less than 1,000 short of the number slain during the territory promotion battle a few days ago. There's still a gap of about 300,000 points to reach. The higher quality of the undead during the promotion battle resulted in a higher bonus. According to yesterday's plan, he kept 1 gold chest, 1 silver chest, and 8 bronze chests, and opened the remaining chests. They were all familiar finds, so Zhao Yi wasn't too upset. These past few days, Zhao Yi's primary focus remained territory development, but he also kept an eye on Kyoto territory and the foreign player lords besieging it. Yingsa and Madras had both suffered heavy losses. Judging by the situation, Yingsa hadn't sent out assassins yesterday, and Madras certainly wasn't going to do the same. Without the 2 second-class viscounts leading the charge, the possibility of other foreign player territories attacking Kyoto was low, and Kyoto wouldn't be decimated by last night's undead horde. Zhao Yi sent another letter to Kyoto, informing him that Yingsa had suffered heavy losses the previous night, and that one of the 2 second-class viscounts might be annihilated tonight by the undead horde. The crisis had been averted, and Kyoto was urged to hold on. An hour later, Kyoto received Zhao Yi's letter. After reading it, Kyoto was nearly moved to tears. It was just a matter of time. If the enemy had attacked again tonight, his territory would have been destroyed, and he would have been forced to abandon his position as lord and flee to the indigenous city. Perhaps heavy losses was an exaggeration, and it was even hard to believe that a second-class viscount would have been destroyed tonight, But Zhao Yi had definitely taken action, and that was enough. With the loot from the treasure chest this morning, as long as the enemy doesn't attack tonight, the territory's crisis will be completely reversed. Xiao Da wrote back to Zhao Yi, expressing his deep gratitude for his compatriot's assistance. He promised to give Zhao Yi at least one piece of platinum equipment as a thank you gift once the territory's most difficult period is over. He also lamented the numerous casualties among the professionals and the families of the deceased, who had become a huge burden on the territory. Once the situation was over and the territory could be relocated, he would abandon it and develop a new one elsewhere. Zhao Yi received Xiao Da's reply and, after reading it, was impressed. How sensible. While they were all Chen players, they could help each other against foreign players, but this time, Zhao Yi's assistance was unilateral. If Xiao Da hadn't even expressed gratitude and instead treated the assistance of other Chen players as an obligation, he wasn't worthy of Zhao Yi's continued assistance. He would simply let Xiao Da continue fighting the foreign players. Once Xiao Da's territory was destroyed, Zhao Yi would then reap the territories of the foreign players. Now, Xiao Da not only expressed his heartfelt gratitude for Zhao Yi's assistance but also offered to give him at least one piece of platinum equipment. A piece of platinum equipment is not cheap. Even the worst platinum equipment is worth over 10,000 low-grade magic crystals. Zhao Yi was very pleased with Xiao Da's intention to relocate his territory, and he understood Xiao Da's decision. Over the course of his territory's development, over 400 professionals had died in battle, and the families of those killed had totaled over 1,500. Zhao Yi's recruits were primarily male professionals, the backbone of their families. If a professional died in battle, their contribution to the territory would be less than that of a civilian family, unless the family already had two professionals, and the other would also join the territory's army. Furthermore, Zhao Yi, seeking to gain the loyalty of his subordinates, offered higher compensation to the families of those killed, making them a minor burden on the territory. Even without relocating to the demi-plane, their families, with a population exceeding 150,000, were a minor burden on Zhao Yi's territory, which already had a population of over 150,000. Unlike Zhao Yi's territory, Kyoto's territory lacked a demi-plane. Previously, the number of professional casualties was relatively low, allowing the territory to afford the care of the families of those who died. However, as Kyoto's territory came under siege from foreign player lords, the number of professional casualties increased dramatically, and the burden grew ever heavier, reaching a point where, if these casualties were not properly addressed, the territory would be in danger of collapse. Kyoto's forced response, relocating the families of the deceased professionals to a nearby village, ultimately led to the destruction of a village by the undead horde. This left most of Kyoto's professionals with conflicting feelings. They supported the Lord's move, believing that if these people were not relocated from the main city, the city might not survive until the next day. They were also deeply dissatisfied with the Lord's actions, wondering if their families would be similarly treated, abandoned to fend for themselves in the villages outside the city. This realization caused the loyalty of Kyoto's professionals to plummet, though not to the point of betrayal. Instead, they would no longer fight to the death against the undead, focusing instead on surviving as long as possible. Only by surviving could their families be safe. Faced with his subordinates' declining loyalty and his shattered territory, Xiao Da chose to start anew elsewhere, a decision Zhao Yi could fully understand. Many Lord players made the same choice. Whether the territory's population is primarily indigenous or primarily player, the families of fallen professionals are a burden to the territory. Expelling the families of fallen professionals from the main city inevitably leads to a decline in loyalty and public sentiment, and in severe cases, can even lead to rebellion among the professionals under their command. This rebellion is particularly prone to occur in territories dominated by players. Therefore, as the burden on the territory grows, many lords abandon their long-held territories and start anew elsewhere. These lord players are better off than those who flee their territories. At least they retain their lord status and can establish new territories, while the latter's lord status is revoked. Zhao Yi had seen posts on the forums showing several non-lord players receiving titles from indigenous nations, becoming the lowest rank of nobles. The price to pay is high, and typically requires offering valuable treasures to the king or emperor to obtain such titles. Ordinary players don't even have the chance to meet with the indigenous nobles, and weak player factions can't offer valuable treasures. Besides this, another path is to join the indigenous army and earn nobility through continuous meritorious service. This path is equally difficult, as most combat class players are currently Tier 0, and Tier 1 players are generally found in player territories. Zhao Yi always learns a lot from the experiences of other Blue Star players. Even with a demi-lane at his disposal, he strives to minimize the losses of his professional players. Zhao Yi has a touch of adventure in his nature, but is more cautious. If he takes too much risk, he will inevitably suffer the consequences of the inherent bugs that plague him. Those who are good at water will drown. Chapter 169 Part 2. Both Yingzi and Madra were severely damaged. After a moment's reflection, Zhao Yi decided to target Madra tonight. His primary concern was that not attacking Madra for 2 consecutive days would allow it to recover and hold out longer. If he attacked Madra tonight, there was a high chance it would be destroyed. After defeating Madra and Yingzi, Zhao Yi would dispatch assassins to attack the remaining 9 foreign player territories. Normally, he wouldn't attack anyone who didn't offend him. Since these distant foreign player territories didn't hinder Zhao Yi's expansion, he wouldn't have the time to attack them. However, they attacked territories belonging to fellow Chen players. Zhao Yi, in turn, felt no compunction about attacking these foreign player territories. He would eventually eliminate them anyway. Before the anti-Chen alliance emerged, few Chen player territories across the origin continent took the initiative to attack surrounding foreign player territories, as they were focused on development. With the emergence and continued expansion of the anti-Chen alliance, many Chen player lords took the initiative to attack them to protect their own safety. Offense is the best defense. Chen Kingdom's player lords are outnumbered by the anti-Chen alliance, so striking first is the best strategy to weaken the enemy. For those like Xiao Da, being dragged directly into defensive position will only see their territory's strength steadily weakened, ultimately leading to its destruction. The conflict between the Chen Kingdom player lords and foreign player lords north of Zhao Yi's territory is a minor strife within the broader origin continent, generating no significant buzz on the forums. In contrast, the hottest topic on the forums today is Cheng Jin's promotion to second-class Earl, meaning Cheng Jin will be competing in a territory promotion battle tonight. Both Chen Kingdom officials and Cheng Jin have posted about Cheng Jin's upcoming promotion. Zhao Yi's territory promotion battle was on day 48, and today marks day 52. For the past 4 days, the forums have been flooded with messages encouraging Cheng Jin's promotion, as well as mocking and insulting him. This might have been fine for a day, but it's continued for too long, and the Chen Kingdom players are feeling deeply frustrated. Some Chen players stopped browsing the forums, while others posted messages urging Cheng Jinling to advance and prove his prowess to foreign players. Cheng Jinling remained unmoved, diligently building up his strength. Only today, feeling strong enough, did he officially initiate the territory advancement process. Seeing Cheng Jinling's advancement, the vast majority of players believed he would succeed, becoming the second-class earldom. In the past 4 days, no other player territory had dared to challenge a second-class earldom. Most players also believed that Cheng Jinling would be thoroughly prepared this time, choosing advancement with absolute certainty, and that casualties in the territory advancement battle would be minimal. The anti-Chen alliance shared this sentiment, and posts encouraging Cheng Jinling's advancement quickly vanished, replaced by a surge in posts mocking him, primarily comparing him to Zhao Yiling. 4 days, 4 whole days, and Cheng Jinling has only just dared to challenge the second-class earldom. Is this what the official Chen Kingdom calls the strongest territory? Why is the gap between it and the number 1 player territory widening? I suggest Cheng Jinling change his allegiance. Whether it's Loss or Eli, they can provide Cheng Jinling with more resources and regain the top spot on the territory power ranking. The Chen Kingdom officials are embarrassing themselves this time. Even if a territory's promotion results in more casualties, they can't wait 4 days. Even if there are fewer casualties, promotion at this time will be ridiculed. The Chen Kingdom players who had returned to the forum, having finally been promoted, began to fight back. However, their numerical disadvantage made even Zhao Yi reluctant to observe the situation on the forum. If only the Chen Kingdom players were left, Zhao Yi sighed, but then realized that even if only the Chen Kingdom players were left, the subsequent competition among them would cause chaos in the forum. In Cheng Jin's territory, Cheng Jin had no time to monitor the forums. As Lord, he was finalizing his territory's preparations. The tonight challenge was crucial, and to minimize casualties, Cheng Jin had been preparing for 4 days. The expanded air cavalry unit had completed initial training, but the numbers were still a bit low. Cheng Jin had devised several strategies to counter the undead air cavalry, including the use of the Mage Tower. The undead air cavalry posed the greatest threat, followed by numerous 4th-tier undead, including a 4th-tier lich. Changjin's territory lacked a single 4th-tier professional, so he had to prepare methods to eliminate them. This was especially true for the 4th-tier lich, which could use mass enhancement. Changjin had already prepared a plan to eliminate it in advance, but the chances of success were slim. Even with Zhao Yi's intelligence, Changjin couldn't accurately analyze the 4th-tier lich's specific strength. Everything awaited the night's battle. Numerous Chen Kingdom players were also waiting. If Changjin successfully achieved his promotion to 2nd-tier earldom, and if casualties were minimal, the situation would be reversed in an instant. Although it was promoted 4 days later than Zhao Yi's territory, Zhao Yi's lord is also a player from Chen country. They're all one of us, so what's there for foreign players to mock? None of your player territories dare challenge a 2nd-class earldom. Come to think of it, the existence of the forum seems to have effectively reduced the number of players quitting Blue Star. Most Blue Star players live in conditions similar to those of ordinary families in indigenous cities, cramped together in a small room, eating, drinking, defecating, urinating, and sleeping all in that one tiny room. This creates deep resentment among players. Some, unable to tolerate the harsh living conditions, choose to quit, a move that signifies complete abandonment, never to return to the game world. The forum, however, allows players to vent freely. As long as they don't reveal their true information about Blue Star, they can express whatever they want, releasing their resentment and helping them persevere in this filthy, chaotic environment. However, this forum also resents many players, including Zhao Yi. Back on Blue Star, Zhao Yi had grown intolerant of the idiotic online chatter. The information on the forums was dwindling, and Zhao Yi had simply grown tired of reading them. Perhaps, in the future, he could establish a network like a marketplace, covering all of his territory, a network reserved for his own people, with Zhao Yi setting the rules. He could create a network that satisfied him. It wouldn't be for entertainment, but to facilitate the rapid exchange of information within his territory. Player territories populated entirely by indigenous people lacked internet access, but in more populated territories, information could be quickly transmitted through the address book. Madra, even in his territory's main city, could keep up to date on the assassin group's movements. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170 No One to Recruit. Cheng Jinling is about to be promoted to 2nd-class earldom, and Zhao Yiling is also continuing its growth. Yesterday, the territory's population approached 140,000, and after today's recruitment, the total population has reached 156,000. This represents an increase of over 16,000 people in just one day. A 1st-class Viscount's promotion to a 3rd-class earldom only requires 20,000 people. Not counting the population in the demi-plane, Zhao Yiling's population already exceeds the required population for promotion to 1st-class earldom, with only Zhaocheng falling slightly short. Zhaocheng, like the previous few days, saw a population increase of 6,000 today. The 3 first-level villages of Ling, Wu, and Ji were upgraded to 3rd-level towns today, each receiving a company of 0-level professionals. Their families can choose to follow them or move into the demi-plane. The 3 first-level towns of Jia, Yi, and Si each saw an increase of approximately 2,500 people today, bringing the total population of each to 12,000. Further population increases are expected in these 3 towns. Garrisons may be added to the 3 towns, and some individuals may be relocated. The population will definitely not exceed 12,000. Furthermore, today, each of the 3 towns, A, B, and C, will establish a tributary village, adding another 3,600 people. However, according to calculations, the newly established tributary village in Town B could potentially attract undead night attacks that will join those attacking Town B. There's no need to increase the military presence in Town B for now. Town B's population has reached 12,000, and the number of undead night attacks exceeds 4,000. Adding another 400, and the vast majority of these 400 undead are level 0, with only a few being level 1, won't significantly increase the pressure on Town B for all player lords. The more people in their territory, the better. This attracts more undead attacks, earning more points, experience, and better treasure chests, provided the territory's military strength also improves. But for Zhao Yi, this was only one reason. He had another consideration in mind. For the players of Blue Star, it's just a game, but it's also a very real world within the constraints of its rules. Crucially, the indigenous population of the origin continent is limited, while there are still millions of player lords. Over half of the player territories recruit only indigenous people, and many lords who have relocated their territories recruit only indigenous people in their new territories. While the indigenous population is limited, player lords can currently maintain recruitment, but there's a risk that no indigenous people will be recruited in the future. Players in indigenous cities have observed that professionals who pledge allegiance to indigenous nobles or to other indigenous factions will not be recruited by players. The indigenous professionals recruited by players are all free agents. These free agents are numerous and have previously participated in the defense of indigenous cities, serving as an extra role unit within the city walls. They perform their duties during the day, but at night they join their comrades on the city walls to battle the undead. To excel in combat, they undergo military training comparable to soldiers of the same class and rank. Whether freelancers or pledging allegiance to a specific individual or faction, these low-level professionals make up the majority. The higher their rank, the fewer they are, facing a shortage of both money and training resources. Even if a freelance professional pledges allegiance, their natural talent will be ignored, rendering them mere cannon fodder to be discarded. Accepting the recruitment of a hero from another world will reset their rank to 0, but they can rapidly increase their strength by slaying undead and may even be granted advancement stones. The number of freelancers in the indigenous cities is rapidly decreasing. Fortunately, these freelancers are not the primary defenders, preventing the city from being breached by the undead hordes. Once all the indigenous freelancers have been recruited, player lords will have nothing left to recruit. If they can recruit indigenous professionals who have pledged allegiance, the threat posed by the indigenous forces to the Blue Star players will be reduced, ultimately leaving the top leaders of the indigenous forces isolated and powerless, a scenario that is clearly impossible. There were some Blue Star players who shared Zhao Yi's idea, but it was pointless. Territories couldn't accommodate such a large population. To accumulate more people, they had to rely on territory advancement. Building more satellite towns or villages could also increase the population, but this would result in slower growth in the main city's strength, delaying territory advancement. Only a very few players with the best luck could manage Zhao Yi's rapid growth, while simultaneously building satellite towns and villages to increase the population. Building more satellite towns and villages was to earn more points and treasure chests. Treasure chests were even more important, as both Zhao Yi and the best luck players could find valuable loot from them, boosting their territory's strength. There was also the recruitment of indigenous civilians. The indigenous forces would find it unbearable to have only professionals and no civilians. Zhao Yi had no idea how this recruitment strategy would ultimately unfold. All he could do was continuously develop his territory, maximizing the population and improving his strength, preparing for future changes. At night, Zhao Yi led 300 assassins, lurking on the other side of the undead army's route to attack Madra's main city. Zhao Yi's assassins were puzzled. Madra hadn't dispatched patrols to search for these outsiders, not even around the main city. Instead, they had only sent assassins to investigate the undead army, while the rest of the troops remained stationed in the city. Madra knew all this was futile. With a powerful leader far superior to his own, there was little he could do. If the leader attacked again, the city would surely fall tonight, and he had no choice but to prepare for a preemptive escape. When the assassin relayed the information about the undead army to Madra via his address book, Madra felt a wave of disappointment, but his expression remained unchanged. Madra immediately sent a message to all assassins investigating the undead, ordering them to keep the information confidential, refrain from spreading rumors, and return to the city as soon as possible. The assassins were stunned by the Lord's message. Some of the more nimble ones immediately guessed that the Lord might abandon the territory, and that if they returned quickly, he would take them with him. Most assassins kept the information secret, not sharing it with their comrades, fearing everyone would know the Lord was abandoning the territory. The territory only had a basic teleportation array, which couldn't transport everyone. If everyone crowded around the teleportation array, waiting to be transported, and no one intervened to stop the undead horde, the undead would breach the city faster, and fewer would escape through the array. However, one assassin still managed to leak the information, telling a friend in the territory that the Lord was abandoning the territory. Before the undead army arrived at the battlefield, most in the territory knew the Lord was planning to flee. Some, unconvinced, approached Madra to question him. Madra's vehement defenses were futile. Regardless of whether they had the magic crystals to pay for the teleportation, a large number of players, accompanied by their families, rushed to the teleportation array, completely blocking the area. Even Madra couldn't find her way to use the teleportation array, so he immediately left the main city with his confidant and his family, fleeing to the nearest player territory. Chapter 171 Military Training. Additional settings. Players recruited by player lords cannot earn points or receive treasure chests. Madra Lord City had no combat class players to stop the undead horde, and was easily breached. Less than 1/10 of the city's population could escape to the indigenous city via the teleportation array. Seeing they couldn't use the array, and lacking the magic crystals to pay for it, other players had already left the city, following Madra's lead. In the pitch-black night, it was extremely difficult for ordinary players to evade the undead's pursuit. Madra, who offered no resistance, was easily annihilated by the undead horde. Fleeing, Madra no longer cared about the loss of his lordship, he simply wanted to survive with his family. Elsewhere, in Insa Lord City, Lord Insa was still celebrating the fact that no enemy had attacked him tonight, when he received news moments later that Madra lordship had been annihilated by the undead. The enemy hadn't attacked his own territory, but they had tonight, and they were very likely to do so tomorrow night. Yingsa also knew of Madra's plight. He hadn't even had a chance to use the teleportation array, and he wondered if Madra would survive the night. Seeing Madra's plight, Yingsa made a heartfelt decision to abandon his territory and head for the indigenous city the next morning. The territory had suffered heavy damage last night, and the points he had just earned from defeating the undead had been used up tonight to defend against the undead horde. Fortunately, the undead horde had recovered its normal strength and numbers, and there were still some points left after the battle. With the bonus points and treasure chests from the battle tomorrow morning, combined with his own strength, he could establish a mercenary group in the indigenous city and perhaps even have a chance to become lord again. In the lord city of Kyoto, having just commanded his territory's troops to defeat the incoming undead horde, Kyoto was filled with emotion. His promotion to first-class viscount had made him arrogant, and he had proactively established diplomatic relations with neighboring player territories, ultimately leading to a siege by foreign player lords, putting his territory in imminent danger. At a critical moment, Oda attempted to seek aid from a fellow territory he had considered weak, only to find that the crisis was resolved. As long as no enemy attacked his territory, he could continue to advance even without relocating. However, the burden was too heavy, severely hampering his territory's development. Although Oda didn't yet know that Madra territory had been destroyed, he already understood that the reclusive fellow territory wasn't the newly promoted third-class viscount territory he had imagined, but more likely a newly established tributary town. The fact that he could establish a tributary town clearly indicated that he was a third-class earl. Having such a powerful figure by his side was both fortunate and unfortunate. Fortunately, the crisis was resolved by the powerful figure, but unfortunately, his territory would inevitably hinder the powerful figure's future expansion. Fortunately, he had already decided to relocate his territory and hoped it could be done soon. Oda estimated that once the fighting between the player territories and the surrounding area subsided and peace lasted for a few days, the relocation of the territory would be allowed. Remember this lesson. Even a first-class viscount territory is far from sufficient. If it were to join forces with weaker foreign player territories, it would be destroyed. After relocating, we must strive to develop and build strength. Oda resolutely set his sights on an earldom above the first-class viscountdom, hoping to become a true powerhouse like Zhao Yi. The weaker Madra, Yingsa, and Kyoto territories were on the brink of death due to a single slight increase in the strength of the undead armies attacking their main cities. For the powerful Zhao Yi territory, the daily undead attacks were a mere formality, with not even a single fourth-tier undead among the undead hordes, leaving Zhao Yi speechless. However, this perfunctory attitude was also a boon for Zhao Yi's territory. Since its promotion to a second-class earldom, the territory's population and military strength have rapidly increased. While first-tier and higher professionals were relatively easy to come by, many of the zero-tier professionals lacked combat experience. The incoming undead were relatively weak, making them a good opportunity for these newcomers to gain combat experience, and casualties would be kept to a minimum. After the battle, Zhao Yi was reluctant to open the cluttered forum, but remembering Cheng Jinling's promotion today, he did so anyway. According to some player posts, Cheng Jinling's city had already eliminated the second wave of undead and was about to face the third. In the battle against the first two waves of undead, Cheng Jinling only lost 11 men. The first two waves were relatively weak, and Cheng Jinling was able to eliminate them all with only 11 casualties, demonstrating his considerable strength. However, the key was the third wave. In Cheng Jinling's city, distant air cavalry reported the third wave to Chengjin. Undead air cavalry had appeared, many of them carrying zombies. On the ground, the undead army also contained numerous fourth-tier undead, including fourth-tier liches. The third wave was similar to Zhao Yi's intelligence, formidable, but his own territory was prepared. Fight! Cheng Jinling's entire air cavalry marched out to meet the undead air cavalry. Like Zhao Yi's air cavalry, Cheng Jinling's air cavalry were all archers, equipped with the best bows and arrows. A major battle erupted again on the battlefield of Cheng Jinling's main city, drawing widespread attention on the forum. It's dropping. Cheng Jinling's combat power has dropped again, the Chen players are too strong. I hope Cheng Jinling fails to advance, giving us a chance to catch up. Even if he succeeds, Cheng Jinling will suffer many casualties. There were also posts from Chen players, but they made up less than 1/10 of their number. A significant number of Chen players had already lost interest in the forum. As the battle continued, Cheng Jinling's combat power slowly declined. Countless foreign players hoped for a faster decline, but their hopes were unsuccessful. By the end of the battle, during the third wave of undead, Cheng Jinling had lost fewer than 100 men, compared to over 5,000 combat professional players in Cheng Jinling's main city, less than 1/50th of their total. Normally, a victory is considered a major victory if losses are less than 1/10 of the total. Previously, Chen state officials considered Cheng Jinling's casualties to be satisfactory if they fell below 1,000, a price Cheng Jinling could afford. In just 4 days, Cheng Jinling had reduced his losses in the territory's promotion battle to such a low level, demonstrating the effectiveness of the previous 4 days' preparations. Chengjin had not yet reported on the progress of the promotion, but Chen state officials had already speculated that Cheng Jinling's expanded air cavalry played a significant role in the battle. For other territories to achieve a relatively low cost of advancement to second-class earldom, they would need a robust air cavalry unit. This presents a complex challenge, as air cavalry is rare, and purchasing them from indigenous forces would be prohibitively expensive. Chen state officials have already been heavily promoting Cheng Jinling's victory on the forums, shifting public opinion slightly. Perhaps the forums will return to their normal state tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Chapter 172 Scared Away. You won 35 battles, you destroyed 44,681 undead, you lost 12 soldiers. Battle rating, XP, points increased by 105.4%, professional experience increased by 105.4%, obtained 1 crystal chest, 3 gold chests, 3 silver chests, 28 bronze chests. Yesterday, 2.99 million points were earned. Today, 3.31 million points. With enough points earned in 1 day, it's enough to recruit a Tier 3 priest. Of course, Zhao Yi wouldn't be willing to spend points to recruit Tier 3 professionals. At the current daily point intake, recruiting Tier 2 professionals is the limit, and at most a platoon of Tier 2 professionals can be recruited in a single day. Tier 3 professionals still rely on Tier 3 recruitment scrolls found in gold and higher tier chests. Currently, Zhao Yi recruits Tier 0 and Tier 1 professionals company by company. It's unclear when he will be able to recruit a whole company of Tier 3 professionals at once. Recruiting a company of Tier 3 professionals requires a full 43.2 million points. Given the territory's current situation, it would take 10 days to 2 weeks to accumulate points just to make such a recruitment effort, an unacceptable sum. Opening the treasure chest, Zhao Yi clicked on the crystal treasure chest. He examined all 49 cards, his lips curling slightly. While the single crystal card was trash, the others were quite good. He selected 2 platinum cards, Tier 3 Cavalry Archer Recruitment Scrolls 4, and Platinum Boots. He selected 2 gold cards, 1 Star Talent Stone, and Tier 1 Pegasus 15. He selected 3 silver cards, Level 3 Advancement Stone, Tier 2 Shield Warrior Recruitment Scroll, and Basic Alchemy Workshop. Recruiting 4 more Tier 3 cavalry archers today will bring the territory's total to 8. Unfortunately, there are no matching Tier 3 flying mounts. 15 Tier 1 Pegasus will add another 15 Tier 1 air cavalry to the territory's air cavalry. 1-star talent stones, save them, maybe there will be a chance to use them. However, it is very difficult to discover talents among non-professionals. The population of the territory has exceeded 150,000, and non-professionals make up the majority. Zhao Yi cannot check the attributes of every civilian one by one, but if there is nothing else to do, it can also be used to kill time. When Zhao Yi returned to the Lord's mansion and had breakfast with Melissa, he thought about Chang Jingling, who had been promoted to the second-class earldom 23 days ago. Zhao Yiling and Chang Jingling were promoted to the third-class earldom together. Now Zhao Yiling was promoted to the second-class earldom 4 days earlier than Chang Jingling, and the gap between the two territories has widened. But Zhao Yi was a little dissatisfied. The gap between the two territories was still too small. If the Chen state government increased its investment in Chang Jingling, the gap between the two territories would continue to narrow, and it might even be possible to regain the first place. Zhao Yi didn't become complacent due to his long reign as the top player on the territory combat power ranking. He was, after all, a solo player, while Chang Jingling was backed by the Chen Kingdom's official power, the most powerful of all player factions. The wealth and resources at his disposal were immense. Thinking carefully, he had distanced his territory from Chang Jingling, having made a significant contribution to the 2-day disaster. Unfortunately, such an opportunity wouldn't return anytime soon. A second-class earldom had already appeared, and more were to follow. The only good news was that Chen Kingdom players still held a significant advantage in advancing to second-class earldoms. Under the leadership of the Chen Kingdom's official authorities, they could withstand the attacks of the anti-Chen alliance. Zhao Yi's territory needed time to grow and develop, and if surrounding Chen Kingdom player territories were attacked by foreign player territories, he would offer his assistance whenever possible. Zhao Yi had no plans to write to Cao Da today. The foreign player alliance hadn't attacked Cao Da's territory in the past 2 nights, and Cao Da's advancement to first-class viscountship was a testament to his strength. In 2 days, the territory should stabilize. As a sensible player from Chen, Zhao Yi had no desire to see Cao Da's territory annihilated by the undead horde. Yesterday, Madra territory was destroyed, and tonight it was Yingsa territory's turn. Zhao Yi, still leading, could never have imagined that Yingsa had abandoned his territory and fled with his men to the indigenous city. Every morning, the territory development meetings saw more and more attendees and more matters, yet the meeting time remained unchanged, in fact, slightly shortened. The key point was Zhao Yi's increasingly close cooperation with his subordinates. Because of their loyalty, Zhao Yi was willing to delegate authority, handing over territory affairs to his subordinates. This delegation of authority from their lord instilled even greater dedication in their tasks. Among the territory's current priorities, besides daily recruitment, Zhao Yi prioritized the development of the 3 towns of Ling, Wu, and Ji. On the day the territory was promoted to second-class earldom, roads were built and 3 third-level villages were established. The next day, the 3 third-level villages were upgraded to first-level villages, each relocating 1,200 people. After just 1 day of stabilization, the first-level village was upgraded to a third-level town, and a company of Tier 0 professionals was assigned to each. Today, the populations of Ling, Wu, and Ji towns all exceeded 3,000. When the population of a subordinate town exceeds 3,000, over 1,000 undead will invade every night, bringing Zhao Yi a gold treasure chest each day. If Ling, Wu, and Ji towns complete their population increase tasks, Zhao Yi will receive 6 gold treasure chests tomorrow morning. Silver treasure chests can only yield level 3 advancement stones, while gold treasure chests can yield scrolls for recruiting Tier 3 professionals. The more gold treasure chests, the better. Unfortunately, the territory can no longer add new subordinate towns. The territory must be promoted to first-class earldom to gain 3 additional subordinate towns. This promotion can take over a month, and the territory still needs time to develop. Zhao Yi didn't write to Cao Da, but Cao Da took the initiative to write to Zhao Yi, primarily describing the territory's development over the past day and last night's battle against the undead horde. Cao Da informed Zhao Yi of the complete situation regarding his territory, stating that it posed no threat to Zhao Yi's and that he would relocate immediately if his territory could be relocated. Since the territory couldn't be relocated yet, Cao Da would work hard to maintain it. Meanwhile, Cao Da dispatched assassins to investigate the situation in Madrai and Yingsa. When the assassins returned with intel on Madrai and Yingsa, Cao Da uttered only one word, as expected of the master. The master's first move was remarkable. Madra's territory was annihilated. After careful consideration of Yingsa's situation, Cao Da deduced that Yingsa had abandoned his territory and fled, demonstrating the players' dispersal even though the territory remained intact. Yingsa was undoubtedly frightened away. This was the power of a master. If Cao Da hadn't also aspired to be a master, he would have been tempted to abandon his territory and cling to Zhao Yi's influence. Chapter 173 Ruthless. At dawn in Morris City, a group of over 20 emerged from the north gate, steadily marching northward. This group included men and women, thick and thin, tall and short, old and young, male and female, all without exception, heroes from another world, all combat class players, though there were no Chen players among them. They didn't form a mercenary group, nor did they have a leader. All matters were discussed collectively, ultimately decided by a show of hands. The group of 20 or so advanced cautiously and swiftly toward the north, each one constantly observing their surroundings as they advanced, fearing ambushes from the natives or players. This had happened many times in Morris City. They didn't display their wealth, but the group's combined wealth wasn't substantial. They wore the linen clothing of ordinary people, and their weapons consisted of broken iron swords, wooden shields, and wooden clubs. Not to mention priests and mages, there weren't even any archers. Their average level was less than level 1, and even if they were to fight an equal number of level 0 native swordsmen, they would be slaughtered. They had only barely passed the professional assessments by sheer luck. They were the weakest combat class players, unlikely to be recruited by player lords. But every member of this team shared a common wish, to be accepted into player territory. While recruiting through the points wall requires points, they could proactively approach a player territory and ask for acceptance, which didn't require any points. This method, which didn't require points, could increase the territory's population. Within a few days of entering the game world, Blue Star players discovered this method. The closer a player territory was to a native city, the more likely it was to gain a large number of free players. Due to the unpredictable nature of the initial players, few of the territories that accepted large numbers of players for free survived. For those that did, the lords would conduct a series of assessments for potential players. For example, players from the same nation must be recruited, and each household must include an adult male labor force. The timid were not to be trifled with. As time went by, the players with good qualifications and willingness to be recruited had already joined the player territories. The remaining players in the native cities were comprised of many with poor qualifications or unwilling to be recruited, as well as soldiers waiting to be recruited with quests. Players who remained in the native cities could earn points by slaying undead and receive a treasure chest daily, but many low-level players couldn't even kill a single undead per day and had the worst chance of obtaining treasure chests. In native cities, most players were at the bottom of the social ladder, similar to civilians. Joining a player territory meant they weren't at the bottom of the heap. In most player territories, players were relatively equal. With one lord being native and the other being a player, players naturally had more opportunities for advancement in the latter's territory. Players unwilling to sit back and wait for death refused to remain in the native cities. They hoped to be recruited by the player lords, but with no success, they took the initiative and requested to join the player territories to save points for the lords. There were successful players, and there were also failures. The members of the Morris City team heading north had failed more than 10 times, but they refused to give up. They repeatedly left Morris City, seeking out player territories to join. Membership was fluid. Some were accepted by player territories, while others abandoned them. Most frustratingly, the team suffered repeated attacks from the natives and even players. The Morris City team advanced, but at most they had to turn back by noon. Without a safe place to hide at night, they would be devoured by the undead. Mid-morning, the team encountered their first territory, a second-class barony in the Eli Kingdom, generally considered one of the lowest-ranking player territories. Despite this, they refused to give up the idea of joining the territory. They worked together to grow it, but were met with a ruthless rejection from the Lord. The territory was already weak, and if they accepted such a group of weaklings, they feared its destruction tonight. The team continued their advance, but by noon, having still not found another player territory, they were about to return. Just then, they saw a cavalry unit of nearly 40 appear ahead. Only a powerful territory could possess such a force. The second-class baronies they encountered along the way certainly wouldn't have them. Soon, the two sides met, and they requested to join the territory, but were once again ruthlessly rejected. They could tell these cavalrymen were natives. They requested an audience with a lord, who, like them, was a hero from another world, and he would surely grant them admission. "Lord, we don't see outsiders. Leave this place now. If you don't leave, you'll stay here forever." The patrol leader's cold words and sharp weapons frightened the players into frantic retreat. On the way back to Morris City, one after another uttered words of surrender. "Give up. No territory will accept us. Stay in Morris City. At least it's safe enough." At the Zhao Lord's mansion, Zhao Yi had just finished lunch when his men reported that a group of over 20 heroes from another world had attempted to join the territory but had been driven away by the patrol. Zhao Yi raised an eyebrow. He'd seen this sort of thing plenty on the forum, but this was the first time his territory had encountered it. Analyzing the intelligence reported by the patrol, this group of players likely came from Morris City. As Zhao Yi's territory expanded, the straight-line distance between them might have become less than 20 kilometers. Even the weakest professional was still a professional, and covering 20 kilometers in a morning wasn't a difficult task. Morris City, the nearest indigenous city to Zhao Yi's territory, was considered a formidable enemy by Zhao Yi. Zhao Yi's territory didn't yet have the strength to contend with the Morris family. An idea struck Zhao Yi. Perhaps he could leverage the players in Morris City to gather more intelligence on the city. While the intelligence they could gather was quite general, it could be useful to Zhao Yi. With a sufficient number of players in Morris City, the general intelligence gathered would be sufficiently detailed, and perhaps there would be some unexpected surprises. As his territory continued to expand, a conflict with the Morris family would eventually arise. Before that, Zhao Yi's territory needed to work hard to build up its strength and gather more intelligence on both the Morris family and Morris City. Intelligence purchased from these vendors couldn't be fully trusted. These vendors made their money primarily through customized services. For more accurate and detailed intelligence, if you paid more, the vendor would send a dedicated person to collect it, guaranteeing full service. If there were any issues with the intelligence, they wouldn't charge a cent. This customized service made Zhao Yi somewhat concerned, fearing that others would pay to explore his territory. A primary and an intermediate mage tower were both visible, and a little exploration would reveal the entrance to the demi-plane, and he could also learn about the Dragon Knight Lord from the civilians. The small but incredibly valuable territory of the otherworldly heroes was a huge piece of juicy meat. Chapter 174 Players' Descendants. The most powerful territory among the players on Blue Star is still too weak for the indigenous forces. Zhao Yi now only hopes to give himself more time to strengthen his territory and better prepare for future crises. In the afternoon, Zhao Yi stayed at the Lord's mansion, cultivating while formulating a plan to increase the territory's population. The reason for this plan was simple: to prepare for a future inability to recruit indigenous people. The number of indigenous people on the origin continent is limited, as is the number of players on Blue Star. Many player lords worry about a future without recruits. However, the territory's limited population capacity, coupled with the need to ensure the territory's strength, makes increasing its population impossible. This problem is simpler for Zhao Yi, as his territory encompasses a nearly 400 square kilometer demiplane suitable for human habitation. Saixi led officials in developing a development plan for the demiplane. While developing agriculture, animal husbandry, and fisheries, the demiplane has a nominal population of 100,000, with an actual capacity of over 200,000. In recent days, the number of people migrating to the demiplane has been relatively small, primarily the families of professionals, with a few professionals who have reached the 0th order of perfection also moving in. The demiplane's population has just passed 30,000. Zhao Yi plans to increase it to over 180,000 within the next 20 days. This means at least 150,000 new people will be added over these 20 days, an average of 7,500 people per day. On the first day, only 5,000 people will be added. As the demiplane's total population grows, the daily increase will gradually increase. Aside from some families of professionals, most of these newcomers are civilians, requiring recruitment using points. Recruiting civilians using points is not expensive. A typical farmer only requires 10 points, and a craftsman only 20. A population of 150,000 is just over 30,000 households. Recruiting all the craftsmen would only require a little over 600,000 points, which wouldn't even be enough to recruit a single third-tier mage. Recruiting would still require a 20-day process. Officials, merchants, and teachers are the ones who cost more to recruit. Blue Star players have only been in the game world for over 50 days, less than 2 months. Given the player lifespan within the game world, this could be a game lasting decades or even centuries. Everyone is still in the early stages of the game. In the early stages, growing a territory's strength is crucial. Territories whose residents are primarily players primarily recruit combat class players, with fewer recruits for life class players. This results in combat class players generally accounting for around 1/6 of the total population. This is because the families of combat class players can perform the hard labor typically reserved for indigenous civilians, eliminating the need for lords to recruit more life class players. In territories that recruit only indigenous people, the ratio of professional to civilian families is nearly even, meaning the number of professional families can only decrease, not increase. While the game may still be in its early stages, many player lords have already passed this initial stage, marked by their territories being promoted to third-class earldoms. A third-class earldom covers up to 500 square kilometers and can accommodate 50,000 people. As territories advance, the availability of high-quality combat class players has decreased, prompting many earls to focus on life class players. As territory's strength continues to grow, they also develop specific industries. Lords naturally desire a larger population for their territories, as this represents their potential. When there are no more recruits, the territory can only rely on its own population for growth. However, territories like Chengjinling, which are being prioritized by a player faction, will not be short of high-quality combat professional players anytime soon. The Chen Kingdom has a sufficient number of subordinate territories. Following orders from above, combat professional players from some territories will be expelled from their lords and recruited by Chengjin. Territories with fewer combat professional players will continue to recruit combat professional players using points, but this time, they will not be able to recruit active duty or veteran combat professional players, and will only be able to recruit ordinary combat professional players. Training new recruits is essential. If new recruits rapidly grow in strength and meet certain requirements during their growth, they may even have the opportunity to join Chengjinling. In other words, the Chen Kingdom has already converted some of its subordinate player territories into training bases for new recruits. A player faction doesn't necessarily need too many territories. Compared to a third-class barony, a third-class earldom has 100 times the area and can accommodate over 160 times the population. A third-class earldom is equivalent to over 100 third-class baronies. As they prioritize the growth of their territories, they gradually incorporate the populations of weaker subordinate territories. This is a practice shared by many player factions, including the Chen Kingdom's official authorities. Most players are uncertain about the future, and there's a question that concerns all Blue Star players. Numerous cases of male and female players, male players with indigenous women, and female players with male indigenous women have successfully impregnated women. Pregnancy naturally leads to childbirth, but the question remains, will the child be a player or an indigenous woman? And what happens to the child after the players leave the game world? Numerous issues related to children remain, and no definitive answers are available yet. Everything must wait until the child is born after 10 months of pregnancy. However, the fact that female players can become pregnant represents the future of Blue Star players. If female players are unable to conceive and bear children, then those territories whose populations are primarily player-based will have no future. As a solo player, the only player in his territory, Zhao Yi doesn't need to consider these issues. He needs to focus on the development of his territory, the growth of its power, and its future. Zhao Yi had a preliminary plan for increasing the demiplane's population, but it was only a preliminary one. He would then discuss it with his subordinates at a meeting, and only after coming up with a final version could it be officially implemented. Regardless of the changes to the plan, it would revolve around the demiplane, demonstrating its value. Of the demiplane's current population of 30,000, over 3,000 are level 0 perfected professionals. This number would continue to increase as daily life continued. Every day, a small number of level 0 perfected professionals would leave the demiplane, receiving a level 1 advancement stone, becoming level 1 professionals and once again joining the battle ranks. The majority of other level 0 perfected professionals would continue to wait, though they weren't anxious. With their talent, quickly advancing to level 1 would be prohibitively difficult, and the wait for the Lord to bestow a level 1 advancement stone wouldn't be long. In the future, more level 0 perfected professionals would enter the demi-plane, awaiting advancement, and they would constitute a significant force in the territory. This chapter has a lot of thoughts, the author is dizzy and the writing is a bit messy. Sorry, I can't continue typing. The first 2 chapters are for draft. Chapter 175, Strike Back. 300 assassins from Zhao Yi's territory set out again, heading for Yingsa territory. A level 3 assassin arrived outside Yingsa territory's castle to investigate and discovered it deserted, with all valuables taken. Where are the enemies? The level 3 assassin wondered. Confused, he returned to his unit and reported the situation to Captain Jewel, also a level 3 assassin with a 2-star assassin and 2-star leadership talents. Armed with this intelligence, Jewel summoned his team leaders to discuss the matter. The assassins decided to proceed with their mission, infecting Yingsa territory with the power of death and dispatching a level 3 assassin back to the territory to report to the Lord. Before the undead army attacking Zhao City arrived, the level 3 assassin had already returned to Zhao City and reported to Zhao Yi. After a moment's reflection, Zhao Yi concluded that Yingsa territory was aware of the situation in Madra territory and, knowing they could not resist, had fled. If they wanted to escape, they could. This kind of thing was inevitable. As long as the enemy's territory was destroyed, it wouldn't hinder Zhao Yi's expansion. Usually, when the main city of a territory is captured by the undead, the teleportation array is destroyed, and the land is infected by the power of death. It means that the player's territory is destroyed. Since there is no one in the Lord's city of Yingsa, it is the right thing for the assassins to remain there. If no undead visited the Lord's city of Yingsa tonight, Yingsa would not be considered destroyed. Perhaps the Lord would quietly return with his people. The assassins of Zhao Yi's territory would not have been in vain. Putting this matter aside, Zhao Yi glanced at the rankings and forum and closed the system panel in silence. Zhao Yi looked at the rankings to see if any player's territory had challenged the second-class Earl's territory today. It seemed that there was none. There was no third second-class Earl on the Lord level list. Forum, the players of his Hongqian country organized a counterattack against the Anti-Chen Alliance, but they were outnumbered. The Anti-Chen Alliance's goal today is to intensify publicity about the threat posed by Chen players. The top 2 spots on the territory power ranking are both occupied by Chen players, and there's a high probability that more than 5 of them will appear in the top 10. If the Chen players continue to dominate, the gap between them and players from other nations will only widen. Everyone must unite to combat them. After a day of publicity, many neutral player territories and factions have joined the Anti-Chen Alliance. It seems that Chen's situation in the game world is even worse than on Blue Planet. However, in the game world, Chen players are already undisputedly number 1, while on Blue Planet, they still have some distance to go. Zhao Yi predicts that the conflict between Chen players and the Anti-Chen Alliance will only intensify. Of course, this intensity is only relative, given the formidable undead enemy. Furthermore, the conflict is primarily between neighboring player territories within the same indigenous nation, and the primary method of conflict is to exploit the undead. As long as a territory's foundation is solid and its strength is strong enough, exploiting the enemy's exploits can actually yield greater gains for the territory itself. The Chen Kingdom officials certainly wouldn't sit idly by. Even a powerful territory like Zhao Yi's, if they mobilized most of their assassins daily to execute a scheme of borrowing a knife to kill, could easily wipe out a second-class Viscount's territory in a single night. The second and third-class Earls under the Chen Kingdom's official power could easily wipe out a third-class Viscount's territory in a single blow. Quantity is important, but so is quality. The confrontation between the Chen Kingdom players and the Anti-Chen Alliance is a battle of quality and quantity, and a decisive outcome is impossible in a short period of time. In this conflict, the primary goal of many player lords remains to expand their territories, rather than letting the conflict hinder their development. Perhaps the Eli Kingdom officials, who lead the Anti-Chen Alliance, share this same motive, hoping to hinder the development of player territories in Chen Kingdom and other countries while fully developing their own player territories, hoping to one day claim first place. The 54th day of the Blue Star player's arrival in the game world has arrived. Zhao Yi had just opened his eyes when a screen of light appeared out of thin air. You won 35 battles, You killed 48,205 undead, you lost 10 soldiers, battle rating 1A, 6C, 2080, points increased by 108.4%, professional experience increased by 108.4%, obtained 1 crystal chest, 6 gold chests, and 28 bronze chests. Yesterday, the populations of Townsding, Wu, and Ji all exceeded 3,000. From yesterday's D rating and silver chests, they now have C ratings and gold chests. However, the gold chests in Townsding, Wu, and G are certainly inferior to those in towns A, B, and C. After all, the latter towns have populations over 12,000, and the gold chests contain 2 gold cards, while the former only contain 1. The bonus to points in combat professional experience has also increased to 108.4%. The nearly 50,000 undead killed last night directly earned Zhao Yi 3.6 million points. He expects to reach Dragon Knight class level 36 tomorrow. Points are increasing daily, and his leveling speed hasn't slowed down. After opening the crystal treasure chest and examining the 49 cards, Zhao Yi was extremely satisfied. He chose a crystal card, which contained 4 Tier 3 Earth Mage recruitment scrolls. He also chose 2 platinum cards, which contained 5 gold shields and 4 Tier 3 assassin recruitment scrolls. He also chose 3 gold cards, which contained the 2nd strike skill book, the Lightning Fox Bloodline, and the 2nd Tier Priest recruitment scroll. He also chose a silver card, which contained the 1st Tier Alchemist recruitment scroll. This single crystal treasure chest alone yielded Zhao Yi 8 Tier 3 professional recruitment scrolls. He kept 2 of the 6 gold treasure chests and opened 4, with a high chance of revealing 1 or 2. Today was the day with the most Tier 3 professional recruitment scrolls in recent days. The 2nd strike skill book, a Legion skill, increased attack and movement by 5% each at the primary level when the enemy strikes first. Zhao Yi still had the unused Swift as the wind skill, which he couldn't use himself for the time being, waiting to reward his subordinates. Lightning Fox Bloodline. While the name Lightning Fox might suggest a thunder type, it's actually a wind type, capable of reaching level 4. Known for its speed and adorable appearance. Its potential is 1 level lower than that of the Shadow Leopard, but its value is still quite high. After all, a level 4 class is already mid-level. A level 4 mage, for example, joining certain indigenous factions could quickly establish their own mage tower. Even in Morris City, there are only 2 level 4s. For players, the Lightning Fox Bloodline is a relatively common special class. Zhao Yi currently possesses 5 of these. While Warcraft Bloodlines are suitable for selling to indigenous peoples, job transfer scrolls are suitable for selling to players. Warcraft Bloodlines are also suitable for Zhao Yi to reward his subordinates. Selling job transfer scrolls to players is difficult, but selling them to those player factions would undoubtedly enrich Zhao Yi's wallet. Even relatively common special classes are coveted by all combat class players. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.